Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Halas Hangover. This is 4-Star Chicago Sports, and it is that week that we've all been waiting for. It is draft week. What's going to happen? Who's wheeling and dealing? Who's moving? Who's shaking? We're going to break it all down for you on your number one spot to have the entire draft covered right after this. Hello again, everybody, and welcome in to the Halas Hangover. As usual, I got my boys in the house, Brandon, Dustin, and Kyle. What's going on, fellas? How we feeling on draft week? It's finally here.
Feeling good. How about you?
Oh, I'm excited. There's so much uncertainty around this draft right now. There's so many rumors. It's lying season. It's kind of a great time of year, man. How you guys feeling about all this crap that's going on? All these rumors, Bears are doing this, Giants are doing this, the Jaguars are doing this. How y'all feeling about all this stuff?
I said on the bare minimum on Thursday, man, I think this is my favorite event in sports outside of an actual game. It has to be for sure the NFL draft. I don't think there's much that compares to it. It's good to be around a group of people who appreciate the teams as much as you do, and to see whether or not you get the guy you were hoping for, or you get the guy you never wanted.
I'm still recovering from last night's episode of The Last of Us, to be honest. So I'm a little down in the dumps, but I'm excited about this draft coming up, and I'm excited for the show tonight. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Kyle, where you at, man? Sitting quiet over there.
Excited for the draft party, Sean. We got a lot of work to do on Thursday, so just can't wait for it to be here. Anticipation, anxious, excited, tired.
We got a lot of work to do, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And we're going to talk about that in just a couple of minutes. We're going to get into everything that we're doing. The pictures are framed up. River Street's going to be hopping. It's going to be a lot of fun, and as we get into this, the Bears are going to be on the clock soon enough, but the rumors are swirling harder than ever. So where do we go first? Do we start with the fact that Adam Schefter's saying the Bears are hoping for someone to fall? You guys want to get right into Shefty?
Might as well. You just brought it up. Let's do
it. Hey, we can make him wait. No, Adam Schefter came out today and pretty much said, there's multiple personnel people who believe the Bears are praying that Jeanty slips to them at number 10. They think the Bears head coach Ben Johnson could feature Jeanty and Swift as a two-headed duo the way the Lions did David Montgomery and Gibbs when Johnson was the offensive coordinator. And, again, for me, I'm just going to say this. It's definitely lying season. And the one thing I'm going to point out is I do think there's a good chance that Jeanty can be there. But people do have to remember, and we can get into this again in just a little bit, there's no player personnel manager, offensive coordinator, head coach that use two tight end sets more than Ben Johnson. And for me, Carlson and Durham Smythe, they're not it. And if Warren,
no, they're certainly not. They're certainly not, Sean.
And that's what I'm saying. If Warren's there, don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. That's all I'm saying. But what do you guys make of this Jeanty report coming out from Adam Schefter?
I would say that it feels, and I said this on Thursday on the bare minimum, and it's if you're reading all the tea leaves, it feels like it's pretty much a foregone conclusion that the Bears' number one guy is Ashton Jeanty. Ashton Jeanty seems to be at the top of their wish list. And then this report today from Adam Schefter kind of just confirms that. And I know we've all been kind of saying like this running back class is so deep that you don't have to spend a top 10 pick on a running back. But when you look at Ashton Jeanty, it's easy to kind of understand why a guy like Ben Johnson would see him and say, I need that on my team. Do you know how many yards after contact Ashton Jeanty had this previous season, Sean?
I definitely can find out.
1,733 yards after contact in just this season. Omarion Hampton is the number 2 running back in this draft. This was in Schefter's report. Omarion Hampton is the number 2 running back in this draft, and he had 1,660 total yards. So Ashton Jeanty had more yards after contact than total yards that Omarion Hampton had. A guy like that just brings so much value to your offense. I think the Bears did a lot to secure the interior of this offensive line, which was the biggest problem by far for this offensive line last season. And if you put a guy like Ashton Jeanty behind that offensive line, he's going to tear up the league. And that in and of itself is going to make life a lot easier on Caleb Williams, man. Like if you have a solid run game to go off of, your quarterback is going to have a much easier time. Play action is another thing that Ben Johnson does a lot of, not just 2 tight end sets. He does a lot of play action. You need a real threat at the running back position to accomplish that. So I could see why people and the Bears really want Ashton Jeanty, man.
Kyle, go ahead.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's any. It's like people are talking about people are talking about it like it's breaking news. And I think it's from day one. That's the first top 30 visit the Chicago Bears scheduled. From day one, they've been saying they like Ashton Jeanty. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter how much they like him. If he's drafted before they pick, then it doesn't. Every year there's some wrench thrown in the gears of the draft. Nobody on this panel, nobody I talked to last year, no experts had the Falcons drafting Michael Penix. You're always going to see something that shocks you, surprises you, that other teams behind those teams drafting did not expect. It's always going to get all muddied up at some point. This, for me personally, guys, this is one of the drafts that I think is the best chance to just be absolutely mind blowing and have nobody has any idea where it's going.
Unpredictable.
Yeah. You get those top 3 players out of the way. Your Cam Ward, your Travis Hunter, and your Abdul Carter. And this draft could go a million different ways. There's so many different ways this draft could go. I think ultimately it's going to come down to basically, like you said, Sean, this is Lang season. I mean, you've heard so many reports of Tom Brady talking about how much he loves Ashton Jeanty. You know that Pete Carroll's always been attached to good run. Kenneth Walker, Marshawn Lynch. You know that. I still think the Raiders are the
Reggie
favorite.
Bush.
I still think the Raiders are the favorite to pick him, but who knows, man? We'll find out on Thursday.
Well, he's a 2,000-yard rusher, 2,600 yards. He's second all-time in the NCAA in a single season. The only player ahead of him is Barry Sanders. And the last Bears running back to rush for over 2,000 yards before being drafted to the Bears was Matt Forte. So, I mean, all signs point towards good things if you do draft Ashton Jeanty. I know this is a deep class, but, guys, there's no way you can be disappointed if the Bears take this player at 10. I know the Bears have a lot to address, but this is a deep draft in a lot of positions. I love Josh Connerly. I love Landon Jackson. If you're a guy who wants the trenches addressed, the world is not over if the Bears draft Ashton Jeanty. But one thing's for sure, you just became a very two-dimensional offense. This guy presents something that I don't think even DeAndre Swift does. DeAndre Swift is good with the ball in his hands, but normally when he's catching it, I know he had a 1,000-yard season in Philly. I don't find him to be a downhill runner. And whether or not you want to call Ashton Jeanty a power back, he really does everything the Bears would require of him. He does.
He's a 3-down back, Brandon. He's a full-time 3-down back.
There's nothing this guy doesn't offer. So, I mean, if Ben Johnson gets his hands on Ashton Jeanty the year he inhabits Caleb Williams, I don't see how good things don't happen with this moving forward, man.
It's fun to think about for sure. But like Kyle said, Sean, I mean, there's a high possibility that Jeanty's not there at 10 and this whole conversation is moot. It really is.
Well, I wanted to ask you guys too, because, when it comes to Ashton Jeanty, there is, I guess you guys have him as a 3-down back. He in college had one good receiving year, which was in 23. He had 569 yards. So which is
damn good. That's damn good.
Yeah, but he hasn't done much since.
Well, he wasn't asked to last season, Sean. He didn't have a lot of targets.
He had 14 and 23 in the other 2 years, and he had 155 and 138. So if he is picked by the Bears, which Ben Johnson in the minds is, hopefully cooking up something behind the scenes, getting this draft guy, an explosive guy like Jeanty, add some versatility, tons of upside. But let me ask you this. Do you guys feel if he's drafted, this guy is more of a hybrid motion slot type running back, or is he a pure number one with some flair? How do you guys see him being used in Ben Johnson's offense, especially with some of these questionable receiving numbers? Do you guys see him being a big time receiving back in the NFL?
I think he's a pure number one running back in the NFL, Sean. I mean, I don't think that there's any debating that. I think that he is one of the 6 blue chip players in this draft by all accounts for a reason, because he is able to do everything. And again, just those yards after contact, that's such a huge deal. The way he bounces off of tackles and guys just cannot bring him down. And not only that, he maintains speed through that contact to not lose ground in that regard. One thing I'll say for sure, man, and this could be an argument for any running back taken by the Bears in this draft. Last year, Bears rushing first downs for the season, 97. Their opponents, 129. Total rushing yards for the Bears, 1,734. Their opponents, 2,317. Bears yards per carry, 4. Their opponents, 4.8. Almost a whole yard more per run for their opponents than the Bears, right? And then rushing touchdowns, 13 to their opponents, 20. You need a running back to pair with DeAndre Swift, because as Brandon was alluding to, DeAndre Swift is more of a spell back. DeAndre Swift is that guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield for you, and then you can throw him in a rotation with Ashton Jeanty, who's carrying the bulk of the load for you. I certainly see Ashton Jeanty being able to pull off 1,200 yards rushing in his rookie season in this Ben Johnson offense. I believe that is fully possible, and I believe that the Bears desperately need that. The more I'm thinking about it, to make their offense more unpredictable and to make life easier on Caleb Williams, who is your number one asset.
Yeah, I think Ashton Jeanty would get the bulk of the carries, Sean. I think he'd be your ball carrier. He's going to get 15 to 20 carries. I would imagine DeAndre Swift's carries go between like 8 to 12, maybe 5 to 10, and I think DeAndre Swift is probably on the field more often in passing downs. I know that neither one of these guys is, a game wrecker when it comes to pass protection. I think DeAndre Swift will probably receive as many targets as Ashton Jeanty and as little snaps. I think DeAndre Swift is, by all measures, a receiving back. I think he's one of the best in the league. Honestly, I do. I think it's hard to judge DeAndre Swift off what we saw last year because that offensive line was egregiously bad. It was. This offensive line's improved, especially in the middle of the field. So Genty's going to have his day, man. And DeAndre Swift's still going to catch. He's going to be Caleb Williams' outlet the same as he was last year. And he's still going to break those big plays. And I don't know how long DeAndre Swift's going to be on this team, but while the two of them are together on this football team, they're both going to have a major impact.
Yeah. For me, I guess the same way we've been talking about, you can grab a tight end later in the draft, or if we grab one, we can grab a running back later in the draft. Mason Taylor will be there later. Fannin will be there later. Arroyo will be there later. If you're looking for someone to pair with Cole Kmet and have 2 pass catchers and 12 personnel, grab the one with the best hands is the best blocker, I guess, at the same time. I haven't been as extremely sold on Jeanty, and the whole world is, and that's just me. I think he looks like he could be a good player. I do think that, but I'm very hesitant. Because, as we heard from the podcast the other day, Beyond the Sticks, I mean, you have a running back. What is their shelf life? 6 or 7 years? You're telling me right now the Bears are going to be set up to win within this guy's peak time to win a championship. That's tough. That's tough.
Yeah, it is. And honestly, though, things can turn around quicker than we would expect in the NFL. We have seen that. Yeah. Scott Angel, I want to shout out everybody in the chat. We got Trax in here, Dante Purify, Scott Angel just checked in with us as well.
What's up, guys?
Trax is saying he got the contract with Miller in the casino. Congratulations. That's
Congrats.
Awesome. Scott Angel says premium left tackles won't be there late in the draft. And I wanted to bring this up to Kyle because me and Kyle have both been saying, continue to shore up this offensive line. But the more I'm looking at it, Kyle, and I'm curious what your thoughts are on this, the premium left tackle doesn't exist in this draft. Every single left tackle has a but. Well, he's really good, but he's injured. But he doesn't have the size to play the position. But his tape doesn't look that great. Literally every single one of these tackles has a but. So, Kyle, where is your stance on that? Do you think that the Bears are looking at Braxton and Karan and saying we can ride this out with them in a competition? The draft value is not there for any left tackle, whether it be at 10 or 39 in terms of what they're evaluating.
Well, yeah. I mean, first of all, we've said it on this podcast before, Dustin. You've mentioned it. You don't ever reach for a position of need over God-given talent, over a blue chip quality player, just because it's something you know. That's how teams get themselves in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
If Ashton Jeanty or Tyler Warren are still there at 10, you take one of those two because they're much better than any of the tackles in the draft. Like I said, I liked Josh Sims of the Bears trade back, but now that we hear about all these attitude issues and he's lazy, and he doesn't have that dog mentality, that's somebody I'd probably stay away from. And, you know, it's not like I'm not saying that the Bears can go get the best left tackle in the world in the second round, but I mean, you guys, they drafted Braxton Jones in the 5th round, and he's a starter in the NFL. They could still upgrade that position in the second round. And like you said, Dustin, that tackle's just not in this draft. The guy that the Joe Alt that everybody, all the Bears fans want, he's not here. I mean, it's clear and obvious that he's not here. I can't tell you how many draft experts have said that they believe that both Calvin Banks and Will Campbell end up being guards in this league. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know enough about the arm length and the statistic and the idiosyncrasies of how much those little half an inch or a quarter of a centimeter matter. I have no idea. But if all the draft experts have these tackles dropping out of the top 10, then clearly none of them are great enough to be good left tackles. Now, if the Bears have a chance to take a blue chip quality franchise altering player like Ashton Jeanty or Tyler Warren, that's the way they have to go. They absolutely have to draft one of those two.
Yeah, and I'm looking at this draft, and it just seems like the premium positions, the value is going to be at offensive skill players. It just, right, Sean? Like, it just seems like that's the way this draft is dictating the Bears have to go. And I mean, what a coincidence that they hired an offensive head coach this season going into that draft.
And remember, Ben Johnson is the guy who identified the talent in Jahmyr Gibbs. If he sees something in Ashton Jeanty, I'd imagine it'll come to fruition. If he sees a guy he can utilize in an offense that he's going to create, I have no doubt in my mind this guy will flourish. I mean, there's just no question about it. If he's the innovator that we hired, that we all think he is, that we've seen time and time, year in and year out, Ashton Jeanty, by all measures, I mean, I was telling Dustin on bare minimum, this guy's probably a first-round fantasy pick in a Ben Johnson offense, like his rookie season. And I know fantasy doesn't equate to winning, but the impact that he'll have on this team is going to take a lot of pressure off not only the guys up front, but Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I agree with you, Dustin. This is a top-heavy offensive draft, and, you know,
you just worry about the Bears reaching for that need versus taking the best player available when that's what's in front of them.
I'm extremely concerned at this 10 pick. They're going to maybe take a need over the best player available. And, you know, we talked about this last Wednesday a little bit. And that's my biggest worry, especially if you can't find a trade back partner and say Warren is gone and Jeanty is gone. Now, for me, it would be Michael Williams, who I'd want
100%. 100%.
If Jahad Campbell is not there, but probably I would go Campbell Williams. That would probably be, if you can't find a trade back partner and those two guys are gone, those are the two guys next up on my board. Campbell probably being number one.
The one thing we've neglected to talk about with Campbell is his shoulder surgery that he had after the combine, right? And that's something that is weighing heavy on his draft stock. He will be a top 20 pick, I believe, and I think he's a top 10 player in this draft. But I think Michael Williams would make more sense in that situation. And you were talking about the trade back. I mean, that report came out today. 8 teams are looking to move back. The Bears weren't on that list. Do you have that list, Sean?
Yes, the 8 teams looking to trade back. I'm getting to the top of the list here. Hold on one quick second. I know the Jaguars were one of them, and we're gonna the
49ers were
the Jaguars at pick 5 looking to trade back. Panthers, Niners, Falcons, Seahawks, Bucks, Steelers, Vikings. So those 8 teams are interested in trading back. To me, which is very interesting, is
this is a report by Schefter as well.
This was by Adam Schefter, and I do think that, you know, because there's not a lot of people moving up, where are the Bears going to go? They're going to have to pick someone at that 10 slot, even if Jeanty and Warren are not there. And that if both of them are gone, which I wholeheartedly believe in every ounce of my soul and body, one of those two guys will be there at 10 for the Bears. If they're not, I wouldn't be shocked, but I don't feel, when I look at the teams the needs for Tyler Warren are there, the 9 teams ahead of the Bears. Even though I did take him going 8 to somebody in our draft coming up, but
well, in that same report, it said that there's only one team that's been identified as trying to move up. And that's just a function of the fact that there's no elite quarterback in this draft that a team wants to trade up for. And like you have proposed, well, what if Jeanty and Warren are both there at 10? Would a team want to trade up with the Bears? In that case, I'm not trading back if I'm the Bears. I'm taking one of those 2 players, right? So I feel like the Bears are going to be stuck at 10, Sean. I don't see a trade back option for them.
Here's the interesting thing for me when it comes to this, because we opened the show by saying this is lying season, and everyone has the Bears infatuated with Ashton Jeanty. What if that's all a smokescreen and there's really somebody else on their board? I'm not saying it is. But why would the Bears go out and tell everybody, we love this guy, knowing that pick number 5 and pick number 6 also love him? So now you're forcing their hand to take the player that you want? I'm just saying, I won't believe everything that's coming out. That's all I'm going to say.
They don't really have a dog in that fight, Sean, because if the team picks them, they have no control over that.
What I'm saying is, why would the Bears be going all out to make sure everybody knows how much they love Jeanty, knowing the threat at 5 and 6 that these 2 teams are looking at him as well? They should be holding that back and keeping it undercover. That's all I'm saying. Is something's a little fishy with that to me, personally.
I mean, guess there's a point that could be made for that, but I think it's a legit infatuation that Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles have with Ashton Jeanty. I really do believe it. And as Broski says right here, and everybody in the chat, thanks for being here. Bears fan for life just checked in. Let's go Bears. It's draft week finally. But Broski says,
Bears fan?
Yeah, hit that like button, guys.
What's
Make sure
up,
you
everybody?
subscribe. Share it with a friend. He says it's really a shame the Bears don't have a surefire left tackle draft prospect to pick at 10. And yeah, I mean, that is the shame of it, because Dante pointed out earlier, you're going to regret not going after O-line. But as we were just saying, like, that surefire prospect does not exist in this draft for the Bears, unfortunately. So you might have to go a different direction just based on what's available to you. And I do think the infatuation with Jeanty is real for the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, Kyle, what are your thoughts? I haven't heard you talk too much about this infatuation with Jeanty. Do you believe this is real talk, or the Bears just trying to pull a wool over somebody's eyes, trying to get someone to make a move?
Well, I mean, Sean, first and foremost, I saw some stat the other day that said I think it's been like 38 drafts in a row or something where at least one team did not trade back in the first round, which means the team obviously vice versa had to trade up. It's going to happen. I don't know who it's going to be. I have no idea. Somebody's going to trade back. Somebody's going to trade up. We all know that. It happens.
Could be the Steelers from 21.
38 years in a row or whatever they said.
The Steelers won a quarterback.
I play the odds, guys. If it's happened 38 years in a row, the odds that happens this year is probably about 96, 97, 98%. It's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to be Bears. I like I said earlier, Sean, we all knew that the Bears liked Ashton Jeanty. He was their first top 30 visit. He was like, when Ben Johnson got there, Ryan Poles at some point was like, who's the first guy you want to bring into the building to talk to? And Ben Johnson said Ashton Jeanty. It's kind of surprising me that people are making such a big deal about this. Like, oh my God, they absolutely love him. Yeah, of course. Well, if he didn't, he wouldn't have been their first top 30 visit. That's why he was the first top 30 visit, because they love him. But Sean, at the end of the day, like I said, unless the Bears are willing to trade up, which I don't believe they should, because there's a lot of holes on this roster. They are not deep enough at nearly any position on the field right now, except for maybe quarterback, I guess. But if the Bears love him that much, if he's gone, he's gone. There's nothing you can do about it. If somebody else loves him, I mean, we've you guys remember all the rumors about how much Tom Brady loves him, and I don't know how much influence Tom Brady has on the Raiders draft, but if he has any influence at all, it sounds like that's the way they're going to go. And, you know, people keep saying, well, yeah, but the Raiders need offensive line. Yeah, every team needs 5, 6, 7 positions, guys. You know what the Raiders don't have? Not a single starting running back on that roster. You going next year with Zamir White? You going next year with Alexander Madison? I don't think so. They're drafting a running back. They're drafting a running back. I don't know, but they're drafting a running back.
Came on late in the season, Kyle.
Amir Abdullah, wasn't it?
You're talking about Mick
McNichols, Jeremy McNichols.
No,
that's not going to work here anymore. That's for sure.
McNichols was the Commanders guy. But yeah, Sean, I know you're talking about the guy you had on your fantasy team late in the season. Yeah,
he got hurt. He got hurt.
Yeah, he had a major injury. He had a non-contact injury. They're going to draft a running back. The Raiders are going to draft a running back. Why not take it? If you believe you need a running back that bad, take Ashton Jeanty. You just extended your quarterback. I mean, they are tied to Geno Smith for the next 3 years.
From trading out of the top 10.
Let me ask you this, guys. This came up from Tom Pelissero today. And if this, I want to get your guys' instant reactions if this were to happen on trade day or on draft day, right there. He said the cost to move up to 5 would be in the ballpark. The Jags send 5 and 107. Bears send 10 and 41. That means the Bears would be trading up for either Mason Graham or Ashton Jeanty. Because I don't think Graham's going in the first 4 picks either. God knows I could be wrong.
No, they'll both be there. They would both be there in that situation. And you guarantee yourself the pick of the litter in terms of what the Bears are targeting. The problem with that, Sean, I mean, you're giving up your first and a second for a first and a fourth. And the thing about this draft is there's starters in it. There's not stars. And there's not much difference between the player you're picking at 11 and the player you're picking at 45. There's just not a lot of difference talent-wise. That, by all accounts, that is the way this draft is going to fall. So I think it's crucial that the Bears hold on to those 2 second-round picks. If you can trade future draft capital potentially to move up, but I'm not for it, man. I think you need both of those second-round picks because the Bears need starters. And maybe they're not a starter their first year, but they will turn into starters, and you're going to get those guys in the second round. I'm not for giving up that draft capital at all to move up, to be quite honest. If Jeanty's not there, there's plenty of depth at running back. And if Graham's not there, there's plenty of depth at defensive tackle into that second round too. I mean, Tyreek Williams could be there. There's potential for other options rather than giving up one of your 2 second-round picks, which are going to be really the key to this draft, Sean. The first-round pick is going to be pretty easy, I think, but those 2 second-round picks, you have to nail both of them to add great talent to this team on really good contracts as well. That's going to be huge for the Bears.
Yeah, I believe this draft is going to have the most teams drafting position of need rather than best available player, because I think when it comes to the early and middle, the first, second, and third rounds, I don't think there's a big enough talent difference in these players to be like, oh, well, we need a tackle, but we can't take a tackle because this is the best player. I don't think there's just a big enough difference. You're going to see teams taking positions of need because in the first 3 rounds, like Dustin just said, they're all good quality, probably could be starter players, but there's nobody who really stands out after those top 3 picks. None of these players. I mean, I would include Jeanty in that. I would include Tyler Warren in that. I'd say it's more like 5 or 6 blue chip quality players in this draft. And like I said, I would also include Will Campbell, because even if he does become a guard, he's going to be one of the best guards in the NFL. Mark my words. But after that, Sean, it's basically what do you need? Because like Sean, how big of a difference do you believe there is in a guy like Caleb Johnson or a guy like Tyreek Williams? Or a guy like Shamar Stewart, or a guy like Jahad Campbell? I mean, how big is the difference? It's not that big. It's not that big. So draft what you need.
And Scott, I'm with you. I don't want to give up capital. I want to add depth to this team.
I agree. You want to make
Caleb
Williams as comfortable as possible.
What are your thoughts on that trade, Brando? The Bears gave up 5 and 41, or 10 and 41 for 5 and 107, or I think it was 107. You in on that?
There's no player that I desperately want that I would trade up to 5 for, unless it's honestly Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter. If it's not one of, or even Mason Graham, maybe. If it's not one of those 3 guys, I'm not touching a trade up.
So if they're available, you're considering giving up that second round pick. Say Jeanty. Well, Jeanty, Warren, and Graham will all 3 be there at 5.
If Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, or Mason Graham are available at that spot, and you're able to trade up, yeah.
If the 3 best players in this draft are available,
I'm doing that. No problem. I'm not doing that for Ashton Jeanty. I'm not doing that for Tyler Warren. I'm not doing that for Will Campbell. I'm not doing that for
because that second round pick could be a 10-year starter in the NFL.
Now let me ask you this.
It's not worth the value.
Let me ask you guys this. 39 and 41. Either one of those picks packaged with maybe something else to move up back into the first round and draft a guy like Josh Connerly. Would you be interested in doing something like that? Now we're giving up some draft capital, but you're solidifying what could be your left tackle.
If you believe that Josh Connerly is worlds and away above Braxton Jones and Karan Amagaji, yeah, but I don't.
But that's not the question, Vernon. The question is he worlds above like Irsay from Minnesota? That's the question.
Well, the guy
you can get in the second round
to draft the left tackle, he needs to surefire be your starter when like week 1. This guy better be on the line, and Braxton Jones better have his lack of ass on the bench. That's what better happen. I mean, like, honest to God, if you're going to trade up for a left tackle, that guy, he has to be your starter. Or you can just address left tackle in a draft next year, which by all measures looks like it's going to be a much stronger class.
Yes,
You
but
might
do
get
you
first
believe?
round potential in the second round next year at that position.
Yeah, but would you, if you're trading your 2 second-round picks to go up and get a guy like Josh Connerly, knowing that with one of those 2 second-round picks you can get the left tackle from Minnesota, Irsay, I think is how you pronounce his name, is the talent different? The talent difference great enough between those two to lose
Well, that's
a
what I'm saying.
second-round pick?
Ben
I don't
Johnson and
believe
Ryan
so.
Poles would
I
have to
don't
know
believe
that. Ryan
Yeah,
Poles
I
and
just
Ben
don't believe
Johnson would have to know they're getting the guy that they think is an elite franchise left tackle for the next decade. They'd have to know that. We don't.
It's hard to see if that even exists in this draft at all, guys. So
I don't
that's
think it
really what it
does.
comes down. That's really what it comes to. Even with Josh Connerly, who I think could end up being the best left tackle prospect in this draft. I mean, I think if you can get him at 39, I'd strongly consider that, and I'd go
If
for
he's
that.
at 39, I'm jumping all over that.
Yeah, of course.
And I don't think Sean was suggesting trading both second round picks to
No.
just
One of the two to move up. You package
and maybe a third round pick next year, or your fourth round pick this year, something like that. I'd consider that as well, but
you don't have a fourth.
Yeah, we had one.
Yeah.
The fifth round pick, the 148. But I just don't want to give up either one of those second round picks. I think they are far too valuable.
I think they could be just as big as difference makers as the pick at 10. I think there's going to be a lot of guys come out of this
I'm just
a lot better
looking
than
at
people thought.
his history has shown, and most GMs do, because second round players are, pretty good talents most often in deep drafts, anyways. Ryan Poles does a really good job in the second round. So I want Ryan Poles keeping his second round.
Yeah, you can add another Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker in this draft. I'm all for it. Go get him.
Well, and Sean made a point earlier that I wanted to get back to. He talked about he's worried about the Bears going for need at 10 versus going with the best player available. And I just want to say that I think Poles has shown us that he goes with the best player on his board in the first round every time. I mean, Rome Odunze last year is a prime example of that at the number 9 pick, when they had much bigger needs at defensive end. They had much bigger needs along the offensive line. We all knew that. Rome Odunze was there, and
Darnell Wright is as well.
He pulled the trigger. He pulled the trigger on that guy. So I don't have a concern about Poles. I think he's going to go for the best player available. Just whether or not his board lines up with yours, Sean, those are two different things.
I do think that this has been Johnson's first draft, and I do think that he wants to build a powerhouse offense. So that's kind of why I leaned away from Mikael Williams and Campbell and some of these other guys on the defensive side of the ball. I really think he wants to find someone there. I saw a couple drafts today where they put Ted McMillan up at 5 or 6, as a surprise pick. I don't like that. I personally,
that would be huge for the Bears, though, Sean. That would be a huge win for the Bears if he went there.
But let me ask you this, though. And this is just, I like Ted McMillan. I'm not like some of the detractors that are starting to fall away from him. But for the Chicago Bears need, and you have this option, would you say yes or no that Luther Burden would fit this offense and their need a lot more than Ted McMillan, especially having Rome on the outside already?
I think Luther Burden is a better receiver than Ted McMillan.
Yeah, you guys, there's so many drafts where the first receiver taken is not the best receiver. Many drafts.
I jumped on a whole different train. I think Matthew Golden's the best wide receiver in this draft. I think that he should be the first wide receiver selected in this draft. I think he might be the first wide receiver selected in this draft, and I think whatever team does will benefit from doing so.
I mean, just go look at the drafts for wide receivers, guys. I mean, what was Justin Jefferson, the 5th receiver taken?
He was like 21 to the
but he was the 5th receiver taken.
Jalen Reagor went before him to the Eagles.
Yeah, Jalen Reagor went 1. Somebody else went in between them at 2.
Right before him, didn't he?
Yeah, before him.
Look at Puka Nakua was the best receiver and one of the best
Chase
receivers in that draft. Look at Cooper Kupp; he was a 3rd round pick. Receivers are tough to gauge, tough to judge. Man, I would not go 10 and take Ted McMillan. That's crazy.
I thought you were talking about Ted McMillan going at 5 to the Jaguars. That would be great for the Bears if Ted McMillan went in the top 10.
Ted McMillan today. There's a lot of talk that the Jaguars want to get Trevor Lawrence,
tall receivers for Trevor Lawrence
back to where he was in the Clemson days when he had T. Higgins and
Well,
the other.
you guys, then the line game has begun. You guys, I'm sorry, but when Mason Graham was caught doing a personal workout at Michigan wearing a Jacksonville Jaguars shirt, they know where they're going. They visited Mason Graham 3 times. It's the only player in there that they visited with more than once.
Yeah, they're not trading
three
back.
times. They're drafting
trading
Mason
back.
Graham.
No one said anything about trading back, Brandon.
No.
Yeah, you guys
And here, I'll
threw
tell you
them
this,
on your
Brandon.
list of Adam Schefter's report. You did say it.
Since
They're
since
drafting
you
Mason
went with
Graham.
Matthew Golden, I'm going to stick with my guy. I still think Jack Beck is going to be, if not the best, he's going to make a push for it in this. I still like Emeka Egbuka too. I like
Emeka Egbuka is becoming my favorite receiver in this
He's
draft.
got no love. He has no love. This dude.
He's the best.
He's
the best character guy.
It's because
and he's the best character guy in this draft.
It's because a receiver on his team his last year in college was far better. That's why his stock is where
I don't know that he was far better. They were in 2 different roles. But again, with the question with Luther Burden and T-Mac, I've been lower on T-Mac than most throughout this process. I think his bust potential is high. I think Travis Hunter is the best receiver in this draft, but then it's Luther Burden right there for me. And if Luther Burden were to be there at 39, I'm jumping all over that if I'm the Chicago Bears.
I was just going to say,
I'm all over that.
He probably could still be there at 39 and or 41 for the Bears. Now, say the Bears draft Tyler Warren at 10. Do you want to go 39 wide receiver, or would you be okay, or do they have to go running back because they're still going to be hurting in the slot?
Well, they pick 2 picks later. They can do whatever they want. Really.
They don't have.
I love this picks back to back thing, man. It's like
Tyler Warren could play your X or Z, and
you
can move DJ Moore or Rome Odunze into the slot. Tyler Warren gives you so much possibility, so much potential.
But you're not doing that on a consistent basis.
No, the problem is for me is I don't think the wide receiver room is deep enough, especially with injuries. Even if you draft Tyler Warren, there is another guy that I'm absolutely infatuated with in this draft, and that's Jaden Higgins. I think he's going to make a play as one of the best receivers in this draft as well. This guy is not getting enough love. This guy is so dynamic, so big. He's got great separation.
One of those guys you guys are talking about is going to fall.
He's better than T-Mac, Sean.
One of them is going to fall to 41.
I think
if I'm the Bears, if Jeanty or Warner are there, you take them at 10. Then you go to that left tackle, Irsay from Minnesota, and then you take that receiver or running back. That's what I'm doing if I'm the Chicago Bears.
Ursary might be there in the 3rd round.
You guys, they brought then take running back, wide receiver, then Ursary. But I mean, they brought Zacchaeus here to play, guys. You didn't bring him here just to sit on the bench. He's going to play.
Well, I'm going to continue.
Zacchaeus is going to play in this offense.
Scenarios out because this is a guy we talked about a bunch through this show. Say Tyler Booker is there at 39. Drafted Jeanty or Warren at 10.
I think that is an impossibility. I think Tyler Booker is a forgotten man in this draft, and he will be gone in the first 20 picks. He is a top 10 player in this draft. I think so, yes. I think he's a top 10 player in this draft, and he will definitely go in the top 20 picks, whether it's to the Bengals or the Seahawks. One of those 2 teams needs that help on the offensive line.
I think there's a possibility. There's a possibility Gray Zabel is there. That's possible.
Gray Zabel?
I think he's a 1st-round player too because he can play every damn position across the offensive line. I think he's gone in the 1st round.
Yeah, it'd be not likely, but I mean he's by all measures a top 5 offensive line in this draft.
And then there's always that other side of the ball. You still need a Walter Nolan type, or what's the kid?
Derek Harmon,
Deion Walker, or
Deion Walker out of Kentucky. Okay,
or Harmon. I mean, there's so many. My head is spinning with this draft.
There's so much going on, man.
So much, and I don't know personally, and I don't know how you guys feel. I don't know that there's a wrong pick for the Bears because they need so much still, even though they've come somewhat far. Because I said this on Wednesday, and I'll say it again. I think what they did in the offseason to upgrade the offensive line was a great start. But that's exactly what I feel. I just think it was a great start. I still don't know that there's depth, and I can go on record right now saying I don't have the greatest trust in Jonah Jackson staying on the field. That's just me. I don't know how you guys feel, but I definitely think you need to walk away with.
I don't know if it's about trust, but it's definitely something you have to account for. It should be a question mark. Jonah Jackson's been hurt recently, and he has not played well recently. Jonah Jackson should not be like the Bears' end-all, be-all. They should have a backup plan there. I'm not saying they have to draft him in the 1st or 2nd round, but we've talked about this a million times. This offensive line is not complete. by any means necessary is this offensive line complete. They need a lot of help.
So what I've been thinking about though with that, guys, is the amount of money and they traded. They made trades. They traded draft capital to fix this interior of this offensive line, and they've done a damn good job at it. I think this interior offensive line is worlds better than it was last year, and that was the weakest link of this offensive line. It was not the tackles. The left tackle can be upgraded. Right tackle, we are set. We are solid. So if you go into this season with 4 out of 5 that you feel strong and confident about across that offensive line, you're in a better position than a lot of teams in the NFL. And then you start looking at this draft, and I've been saying trenches. We need to address the trenches. But I keep looking at this draft and where the Bears are at. It seems like 10 is too high to take some of these edge rushers. Even though these edge rushers, I think, are going to go a lot higher than people think. I think Mikael Williams is going to go a lot higher than people think. And after the top 6 edge rushers, there's a big fall off. The Bears have a lot of needs, as you said. The way I keep looking at this draft and where it falls for the Bears, I see skill position players that are going to have the best value at 10, at 39, at 41, even potentially. And if you're the Bears, I think you got to take the best player available because, like you said, Sean, there are so many needs. So if you don't go best player available, that's how you end up upside down if you start reaching for needs. I feel like I would be okay with this offensive line as it is if you put Ashton Jeanty behind it. I would.
Yeah,
it'd be hard not to be.
Until Drew Dahlman and Joe Tooney get hurt in the same week and are about to miss 3 weeks. Then you're in big trouble.
Yeah, and it's tough to plan that way. And you can't.
Well, you can't plan because the Bears haven't had a fully healthy offensive line since 2009, guys. They've never had an offensive line. You can
say that about every team in the NFL.
But that's the most important position in the NFL to me besides
the guy you drafted at 10.
That's what the quarterback relies on. The quarterback relies on the offensive line more than anything else in football.
But
the
you
most
realize,
important thing in the Chicago Bears is Caleb Williams, guys. That's not a question.
You could draft Will Campbell or Calvin Banks at 10, and they could tear their fucking knee in the first week of the season.
That's fine. At least, Brennan, at some point, we've all talked about this. Like, this is not like something that just popped up 2 seconds ago. The Bears have to draft more offensive linemen. We know that, right? We all said that a million times. At some point in this draft, the Bears have. I'm not talking about a 10. I'm talking about at some point in this draft, the Bears have to add an offensive lineman.
They're going to address depth at the position.
And they're not going to draft.
They're not going to draft
before the 5th
high,
round. For me, it would be before the 5th round.
You don't draft your backups in the top 3
rounds. Well, you do if you're grooming them to eventually be your starters, Brennan. You do.
I'm not for it, man.
Dante says you're not wrong, Dustin, but I'd be uneasy about the trenches. Kyle's obviously uneasy about the trenches. So would I, Dante. All I'm saying is that you can't fix everything in this draft. You only have so many picks.
It would be a different conversation.
You can't reach to address this uneasiness if you have something better looking you in the face. That's all I'm saying.
It would be a different conversation if Caleb Williams wasn't here with a brand new coach and a brand new playbook and a brand new offensive scheme, playing under center more than he ever has his entire life. He'll probably play more under center this year than he has the rest of his life combined.
Not probably, definitely, 100%.
You have to make sure you have to make sure those 3 interior linemen are good, even if one of them gets hurt.
And you
bring somebody else. He has to be better than serviceable.
You can't be that team. We give those fans that are watching Will Campbell try at left tackle, getting run over with his Tyrannosaurus Rex.
If you like Will Campbell that much, then make him a guard and replace Joe Tooney next year
with his Tyrannosaurus Rex arms, and watching Ashton Jeanty rush for 1,500 yards on some other team when you could have picked him. You can't be that team.
Brennan,
we cannot be the Patrick Mahomes Bears all over again. We can't do
Patrick Mahomes Bears.
I would say this, guys.
Yeah,
you are 100%.
No, we need to be the Patrick Mahomes. We need a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes. That's what we need. That's what we need for 50 years.
Okay, guys, I would say this: you are 100% better off this year if you're Caleb Williams. You feel a lot better going into the season right now, as things stand, than you did last season. All those things you said, Kyle, all those taken into account.
I feel better about the entire team right now than I do about every single position on the field.
Okay, let me finish my point here. All those things that you just said taken into account: new offense, new offensive coordinator, new offensive line, under center. All those things are going to make life easier on Caleb Williams. He's going to have to learn them, but it will make life easier for him. He will be able to control the game better. He will be coached better. He will have a better interior offensive line in front of him, which is where all that pressure was coming from last year. So you can say all that, but Caleb Williams is 100% in a better position than he was last year. So, and you can't ask for the world in one day, man. That's all I'm saying. So if you don't see that guy that will address the trenches in that spot, if you're picking at 10, 39, 41.
Plus, I'm not talking about 10. You were the one who said when
you
we started
have
this podcast, you said, hey, guys, there's not a big enough difference between any of these players from 11 to 40 to reach on any. There's no reaching. There's no reach. You said that. You said that when we got on the show.
Yeah, that's the point. That's the point I'm continuing to make, Kyle.
You take a position of need. So if the Bears feel like, hey, if we're one offensive line injury away from this being an absolute travesty or disaster for Caleb Williams, again, if Drew Dalman's out for the season week 2 and it all falls apart again, then go get a backup center.
So here's the question, Kyle. Are you taking Donovan Jackson at pick 39? Would you take Donovan Jackson over, if you don't have a running back, would you take him over one of those running backs?
No.
Would you take him over a slot receiver like Luther Burton or Emeka Egbuka? You would not. You would or you would not?
I would because we turn around at 41 and pick again.
So you guys would, Sean, you would take Donovan Jackson to be your backup guard at pick 39.
Yeah, because I think he'll be a starting guard before you know it.
He 100%
so
will.
What happens if you draft him and Drew Dalman gets injured?
What do you mean?
Well,
you don't have the center. You're still in the same position. So now you have to guess which guy's going to get injured when you're drafting.
I'll be honest. And I've said this many a times. Jared Wilson and Jake Majors are.
By the way, I want to say this.
Yeah,
we haven't said
you
this
still
on
have
the
a
show.
5th round pick. You still have,
we haven't said this on this
show. It's
not
over.
Only 7 picks in this draft, guys. Only 7.
Before last season, when I was telling you guys how bad this offensive line was going to be before the season started, I was told so many times that Caleb Williams is a player who can make a unit, an offensive line unit, better. He can make a unit better. I still believe that to be true if the offensive line isn't entirely ass like it was last year.
Well, I would say I believe that to be true.
Good point.
Right? Have terrible play calling.
Yeah,
like
it's just insane to me
that play calling matters a lot too.
Bears fans have never had a quarterback, and they still are not willing to go the extra mile to make a quarterback comfortable in Chicago. It's like, hey, Caleb, go get me 35 touchdowns and 4,500 yards. Oh yeah, by the way, you're going to do it with Drew Dalman on IR, DJ Moore on IR. Now you have Zacchaeus, and go make it offense, score 40 points a game, go into next year's draft, and go build that defense up. The defense is already pretty good. It's not a bad defense. Like, people are talking about the Bears defense like it's the worst defense in the NFL. It's not even close. It's in the middle of the pack.
It was close. It was 5 spots away from the worst in the NFL.
No, you're talking about the rushing yards allowed. Rushing yards allowed. For the first 10 weeks of the season, the Bears were the top 5 in points allowed, guys.
Yeah.
Sean, what are you trying to say?
About a defense at the end of the season that had half of their players on IR and
injured, right?
Yeah. That.
So we're talking about the potential of drafting.
So you can't judge them off of the injury, but you can.
Thank you. So both sides could get injured. Which is more important, Caleb Williams or the defense? What's more important to the Chicago Bears?
So what do you want to draft a backup for every position along the offensive line in this draft? You have 7 draft picks.
I want the Bears to know if they have 3 major injuries on offense, Caleb Williams will still develop and be a good quarterback. That's what I want.
And some of that will fall on Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson, Kyle. It's not just about putting
like I said,
an impenetrable wall.
We have this conversation every week, but I've said it a million times, guys. The second the Bears feel like they've done enough to make Caleb Williams successful in the league and look like a franchise quarterback, do even more. I've said this 1,000 times. This is not something new. I've said it every single show.
Let me ask you a question. You have 7 draft picks in this draft, right? 4 of them will potentially be starting caliber players based on where they're drafted, first 3 rounds. So. How many of your 7 picks are you spending on depth?
Well, for me, based on where Jake Majors and Jared Wilson are going in this draft, I think it's crucial that you walk away with a center. You know, Jake Majors. I think after the 5th round and beyond, you should be 5th round and beyond. You should start to think about the guys who could fill in, barring an injury. In your first 3 rounds, you should be looking at players that will be on the field the majority of the time.
Bernie, you're talking about players who never start. Like they never.
Remember this. Junie is not re-signed. Jonah Jackson hasn't stayed on a football field in 2 years. Neither has Drew Dalman. So all these great signings that we all wanted, and I'm not mad at the Bears because
neither has Braxton Jones.
Where are you?
Or
You're
Karan
back to where
Amagaji.
you were last season.
They've all been hurt.
No depth, no quality starters because they're injured, and no depth. You're better than where you were last year.
Let's involve the chat here a little bit, guys. I have a question here from Broski Bear. This will get us onto a different little bit of a topic here. He says, would you be upset if Tyler Booker was the pick at 10?
Yes.
I think I'm the only one that wouldn't be, because I fucking love Tyler Booker.
No,
but
well,
again, that's a guy who's not starting for you.
Draft him back up at 10.
Exactly. Okay, so but then a 39 should be a starter for you too. So why would you draft him back up
so
there?
should 41. Yes, they should all.
Well,
be.
here, I'll tell you this right now. I think Donovan Jackson coming into the league is better than Jonah Jackson. So
yeah, I was going to say, you guys, if Jackson gets hurt, if Jonah Jackson gets hurt, and your number 41 pick comes in and plays better than he's your starter, and now you have a good backup in Jonah Jackson.
All right,
that's what we're saying.
No
They're
yelling on the
expected to
bus.
be starters, guys. Just because somebody's drafted 39 doesn't mean they have to start day one. They don't have to start day one, but they are expected to be starters.
Dante says, gentlemen, go around the horn. Give us your mock 4, 10, 39, 41, 72. We're going to do that. We're going to give you our picks.
Very short.
Fourth of pick 10 through 72. Dante says you got as a backup center potential Ryan Bates, Kramer, Stromberg. Broski asks, how high would you draft Jake Majors? Is 72 too high? Sean, what do you think?
Yes. He's going in the 5th round.
So Jared Wilson would be your pick at 72 if you were taking a center, right?
Jared Wilson would be 72. Jake Majors right now is in the 5th round. I would be happy with him in the 5th round. I actually had a higher draft grade on him based on his numbers at Texas. I mean, he played in the SEC. He was one of the top-rated centers in the country. He was playing top competition. He allowed 0 sacks last year. I don't understand, but
centers always get slept on in the draft, Sean.
I'll give you one more guy, a left tackle out of Wisconsin. I did a profile on him. I really like this kid. He does have some work, but Jack Nelson is the name that you could pull later in this draft, 5th or 6th round. That should still be around at a left tackle position. Go look this kid up. He's big. He's dynamic. He succeeded in the Big Ten. I really like Jake Nelson.
So 72 too high for Jake Majors, but we would go Jared Wilson there. Scott says we need depth on both sides. Don't give up draft capital. Add some if you can.
Yeah, Dennis Moody, I would not be upset in any way, shape, or form if somehow Will Campbell fell to 10 and the Bears drafted him.
He says, why do you hate Will Campbell so much?
I don't hate him at all. I don't hate him.
I love Will Campbell.
I think he's going to be a very good player in the NFL for a very long time.
I think he's going to be gone, but I think he's going to be gone by the time the Bears are picking guys.
So do I.
I personally
if we go through our top 10 picks, I'll tell you where I think he's going.
Okay, we'll get to that. Bears fan for life. You all have very valid points. I picked a bad week to quit drinking. Never a bad week to improve on yourself. Bears fan for life. Hang with us. We're good. Dante, O-line have to be developed and D-line can be plug and play. So he's more advocating for that defensive line you can get as starters in this draft. Dennis Moody points out that Donovan Jackson played left tackle, filling in for Simmons in the playoffs. And that, he really did. I love Donovan Jackson. I wouldn't be
Donovan Jackson.
No. I was just asking if you would take him at 39 to make that point. Like, there's better value to still get.
Unless if you need a running back at 39, that's where I'm taking my running back, guys. That's just me personally.
I'll tell you this. I think Donovan Jackson.
I think that's a very important part of Ben Johnson's offense is that running back. So go get him.
Guys, thanks for throwing these comments in the chat. These are all great comments. Hit that like button if you haven't already. This is 4-Star Chicago Sports.
Yeah, please
we love you dearly for being here. Thank you.
What I want, guys, I just don't want to end at the end of next season, 2025, right? I don't care what the Bears record say. The Bears are 8-9, whatever. Pick something. I don't care. 9-8, 10-7. I don't want them people to be like, oh, let's rank the quarterbacks. Caleb Williams is number 12. And he threw for 3,900 yards and 23 touchdowns. And all these Bears fans go, yeah, but asterisk. DJ Moore got hurt. Yeah, but Joe Tooney got hurt. All right. Well, then account for every single one of those issues that could arise and make your franchise quarterback a franchise quarterback
that starts at every position.
Kyle, what position on offense do you think is the biggest need for the Bears right now going into this?
No doubt about it. A backup interior offensive lineman and a backup tackle. They need both in this draft. Or in free, you could still add in free agency, guys. You don't have to get it. There's still a lot of players in free agency.
So a starting left tackle, a backup.
Sean, who is the center who the Seahawks signed last year? He's still available. He's still a free agent, isn't he?
Seahawks. I don't remember.
The guy from Miami tore his ACL. Miami.
let me ask
Connor
you
Williams. Connor Williams. He is also still available as a backup center. That would be a great
his career might be done. I don't know.
He had an awful season.
Which position on the Bears?
Bad injury.
I've seen a lot of off seasons off injuries, and these guys bounce back, man. It happens.
Which position on the Bears do you think they require depth the most?
It should be offensive line.
Offensive line. Protecting
I would
Caleb
say
Williams.
strong safety. I would say strong safety.
Well, let's stay on the offense for a second, Brandon. What's the biggest need in your mind, Brandon, on offense for the Chicago Bears going into this draft? The biggest
starting left tackle, which I don't think is in this draft.
Okay, Sean, too.
Sean,
I would say a starting left tackle as well, which I do think is in this draft if you land Josh Simmons, which we all don't
or a
agree
slot receiver. One of those two.
I would say running back, and then right behind that, I would say slot receiver. I think running back is what this offense needs. They had no run game last year, guys.
Well,
and I think DeAndre Swift is not an every down back, and Roshan Johnson ain't it.
Brandon, let me ask
running
you
back is their biggest need on offense.
You say, Brandon, that your biggest position need is left tackle, but there's not a starting left tackle on this draft. But basically what you're saying is you wouldn't draft any of these tackles over Braxton Jones, but Braxton Jones was a 5th round pick. So where are you getting this mentality that there's no starting left tackle? If Braxton Jones fell to the 5th round and is starting in the NFL, how can you possibly say Josh Connerly wouldn't be better? How can you possibly say Irsary wouldn't be better? Josh Simmons wouldn't be better? How can you possibly say any of these guys would not be better?
That's huge. Doesn't make them a starting NFL left tackle.
That's huge. Upgrading your left tackle, the most important position to the quarterback.
Okay,
you're talking about
a right-handed quarterback.
You're talking about
huge.
$100 million player. Do I pay any of these guys? Do I think any of these guys are potentially $100 million players in the future? No.
It doesn't matter.
Dennis Moody says Campbell.
I don't care about the money.
Well, it matters in terms of if you're drafting that guy to be that person.
You know who's owed money? Braxton Jones. Next year.
And we're not paying him. And we need a replacement.
I agree with Dennis Moody on only one of these players.
I agree with him on Campbell. I agree with him on Simmons to an extent. The injury, drafting a player with injury history to replace a starting left tackle with injury history, that's a concerning.
All right, Dennis Moody, how do you feel about Josh Connerly?
Banks, I agree with. Ursary, I don't know. And that was going to be my question to you, Kyle. How about you? Is Josh Connerly, if you draft him, is he immediately a better starting left tackle option than Braxton Jones?
And huge for Caleb Williams. You know why? Because if you draft Josh Connerly and he becomes your left tackle starter, you know what happens if he gets hurt? You got Braxton Jones. That's great for the Bears. That's huge. Monumental for the Bears.
If I told you,
so you would be drafting Josh Connerly to be your starting left tackle.
Oh,
if I told you, next season, there's 5 left tackles in the draft that are all starting caliber players in the NFL. If I told you that's a guarantee, next year, 5 starting players. If you're picking 29th, you're probably getting a left tackle starter in the NFL. Are you running back? Are you running back Braxton Jones this year?
Brandon, if there's 5 starting caliber left tackles in the draft, none of them are falling to 29. Are you insane?
You just said Josh Connerly is a starter.
But you're talking about guaranteed fit. You're talking about guys like Joe Alt. Is that what you mean? If there's 5 Joe Alts in next year's draft,
if there's a $100 million tackle in next year's draft, are you okay with running Braxton Jones?
He's not falling to 29.
Instead of taking another fill-in this draft, a Josh Connerly who might not be that guy, are you okay with taking another Braxton Jones just to get you to the next 4 years?
I want all 5 positions on the offensive line to be accounted for in every way, shape, or form, because that's what's most important to the development of Caleb Williams. Right, I'm not asking a lot. We're the only team in the NFL who's never had a franchise quarterback. I want one.
Okay, I think the most important thing to development of Caleb Williams is going to be Ben Johnson. I think
offensive line. Hold on.
Yeah. It's going to be a happy marriage.
You have to look at a draft in its entirety, right? This draft is well known right now, guys, for DBs, edge rushers, and running backs, right? So next year's draft class could be stud left tackles, stud wide receivers, whatever it is.
We don't even know right now.
But
you have to analyze each draft. So you have to ask yourself, if you're Ryan Poles, is this the draft where I think I could find the guy that replaces Braxton Jones and becomes my $100 million fucking man that protects
That's
Caleb
what
Williams
you
for the
need to
next
do.
10 years?
It
That's
doesn't
what you need to
matter.
do.
You could upgrade Braxton Jones right now, and then when that guy that you upgraded Braxton Jones with becomes a free agent, then draft another left tackle. That's another upgrade over the guy you just drafted.
Here's a question, and this will
You can
kind
do
of
however you want.
I think we guys can keep going back and forth, and we won't get anywhere. I'll say this, and I'll ask you this, Kyle. Do you think it's a real possibility that Ryan Poles is looking at his roster and saying, I've addressed this, I'm working on this, we're going into this draft. I am comfortable with Braxton Jones and Karan Amagaji in a competition this training camp to see who's going to be my starting left tackle and rolling with that, given that I've solidified. In his mind, he has solidified the interior of his offensive line, and he drafted his right tackle, right? So he's done all those things.
He loves Braxton Jones.
Do you acknowledge that could be a very real thought in Ryan Poles' head going into this draft, especially given that there's very little premium talent at the left tackle position?
If I acknowledge that, I believe Braxton Jones is getting paid $20 million by the Chicago Bears next year.
No, I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think
100%.
that you're. I think you're hoping.
Dustin, what if that talent left tackle is not there next year? What do you do? What do you do?
Why do you keep screaming, bro?
What do you do? What do you do if that talent you just said that talent's not in this draft this year? So what do you do if that talent's not in the draft next year, Dustin? How do you fix left tackle?
Listen, you're hoping that Kiran Amagaji steps up his play because he just drafted him in the 3rd round, Kyle. So you're asking Poles to draft a left tackle after he just drafted one in the 3rd round last year that he drafted with the thought, I don't know if I'm going to pay Braxton Jones. I want to see if this guy can take his job.
So you're asking me if I'm comfortable with
Kiran
Amagaji left tackle next year? No. That's the answer to your question.
No, that's not what I asked you. That's not what I asked you. If you're Ryan Poles, can you see how he would be thinking that I could be comfortable enough with my left tackle position as a competition between these two guys? No, I'm not paying Braxton Jones the way he's played so far, but you're hoping. I don't think he's thinking you're hoping that he steps up his.
And you know what? You want to know why?
Better coaching. I don't think with Dan Rocher as your new offensive line coach and Ben Johnson as the guy who's calling the plays for you game to game.
I don't think so.
That should impact the play of your offensive line. Coaching does matter, correct?
Then why? Can you tell me? You guys explain to me why the Chicago Bears, for their top 30 visits, combine visits, pro days, have looked at 38 left tackles? Because he's so confident in Braxton Jones.
No, I'm not saying
that's why he's looking confident. At left tackle, wide receiver, left tackle, left tackle.
Nobody's that confident.
No,
there's a quote that you can get from Ryan Poles.
There's
a quote that you can get from Ryan Poles that he has said that it could be a competition with Braxton Jones.
He can't ever come out and be like, you know what, you guys. He can never come out and be like, you know what, guys. I think both Braxton Jones and Karan Amagaji suck, and we're going to draft a left tackle. You can't say that. That's just not you. No NFL GM will ever do that about any player in the world. You guys, after Nate Davis left Tennessee, the whole staff talked about how much they liked him. They didn't like him. It's just part of football.
I didn't like him either.
You just can't. You can't go shit all over somebody just because they left your team, and you're certainly not going to do it to a guy who's on your current roster. Do I believe that Ryan Poles thinks Braxton Jones is a really good left tackle in the NFL? No, I don't. Do I believe that Ryan Poles, as an offensive lineman, probably thinks left tackle is one of the top 3 important positions on a football field? Yes, probably. Do I think that his goal is probably to address that situation? I would.
Do you see the options to address the situation in this draft, though? That's what it comes down to. Where the Bears are picking and what's available to them.
You guys just listed 6 tackles in this draft that are better than Braxton, would be starting over Braxton Jones day one. I mean, Braxton Jones was a 5th round pick and he was a starter day one.
Okay, so then at 10, are you taking Kelvin Banks over Ashton, Jeanty, or Tyler Warren?
No, but
so then at 39, are you taking Josh Connerly? If you say you took draft Tyler Warren with that 10th pick, 39, Josh Connerly falls to 39
or 41.
I'm not done yet. If Josh Connerly's there at 39, but so is Travion Henderson, Quinshawn Judkins, Luther Burden, Emeka Egbuka. Are you taking Josh Connerly over those guys at 39?
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
100%.
So then I personally would not take him over Luther Burden because I think Luther Burden is going to be a game changer in the NFL. I really do. I feel like you're taking need over value in that spot. That's the way. It
depends. To me personally, guys, there's only one time I take need over value, and that's making my quarterback comfortable to be developed into a franchise. You guys, you all love Caleb Williams. Is 20 touchdowns and 6 picks, 3,500 yards? Is that franchise quarterback numbers? No, it's not. That's not franchise quarterback numbers, guys. You expect 4,500 yards and 35 touchdowns. That's what you expect this year, right? If you see growth from Caleb Williams, you expect 4,500 yards and 35 touchdowns. That's what I expect from Caleb Williams.
Sean, what do you got?
I'm just with Dennis.
My worst fear is Jeanty going at 10. And then Thomas says, I think Poles loves Amagaji, but we have to draft a left tackle for competition. I am personally not a fan of Braxton Jones. So then that's like, if that's the thought process, drafting a left tackle for competition, that's where I lose my comfort level in terms of spending one of those top 3 picks on a left tackle, guys. Because if it's for competition and not for them to be your starter,
It's not good enough.
I'm uneasy about that.
You don't. What if they believe that Josh Connerly is a starter? The Chiefs believe he's a starter.
If they do, then they should pull the trigger. I love Josh Connerly. They should pull the trigger.
Even if they improve over Braxton Jones, even if he's a better starter than Braxton Jones, but he may not be the end all be all, you still draft that guy to make Caleb Williams as comfortable as you possibly can.
I think there's a valid point to be made for either side, and Trax is saying it right here. You're not getting a day 1 starter and day 1 or a day 1 left tackle in this draft. I mean, I think that is kind of the consensus out there right now.
Did you project Braxton Jones, the 5th round pick, to start for the Chicago Bears day 1?
You're on here saying how much Braxton Jones sucks, Kyle. So that's not a good argument.
If the 5th round pick is an average starter in the NFL, I never said he sucked. I said he's average. If he's an average starter in the NFL, then why wouldn't a 2nd or 3rd round pick be better than the average 5th round pick?
Well, they took one last year.
You understand the math there? Like if you draft a guy 5th and he's average, why wouldn't a 2nd or 3rd be better?
That's a good idea, Sean.
Let's reel it back, because the one thing that I know to be an absolute fact is, and you guys can go look this up, Google it all you want, Ben Johnson was very involved in the unorthodox drafts that the Detroit Lions pulled off. Everyone laughed at him when he took Gibbs, when they took Campbell. We kind of did as well. Like, oh, these guys, they're screwing up.
I love the Gibbs pick personally, but I
don't know who was laughing at him when he took Gibbs.
It was national media. I was listening.
It was 100%. Yes, that happened.
I was listening to it.
I don't think it was because of the player. I think it's because they passed on Bijan Robinson to take Gibbs. I don't think it's because they didn't like Gibbs.
They didn't pass on Bijan Robinson.
Yes, they did. They traded back, and they could have stayed at 6 and drafted Bijan Robinson. They traded back to 12 and took Gibbs.
So they identified
that's why they were getting rid of
that they liked, and they were able to build extra draft capital.
Still, and this is what I'm saying. What happens this Thursday, we don't know. Everyone's saying there's definitely not trading back. He's definitely not trading up. He's definitely not doing this. Nobody really knows. This is all speculation and opinion, because if you look at what's happened in Detroit, there were very unorthodox drafts, and they were headed with great input from our new head coach. And so all I'm saying is just this Thursday at River Street Tavern, where we will all be, we can sort this all out. 102 North River Street Tavern, or River Street Tavern will be broadcasting live and getting the input from you people live that are in the chat. So come on down to 102 North River Street in East Dundee, Illinois. Come see us. We're going to put you on the air before and after the pick. We're also going to run a 50-50 raffle. What does this 50-50 raffle do? Well, it puts money in your pocket if you win it. If not, it makes you eligible for other great stuff. Like,
and even if you don't win, Sean, you're still giving to a great cause.
That's right. We got Santos. We got DJ Moore. We got Dan Hampton. We're all another Santos. We got a couple autographed helmets. We got $3 tall boys. We want to see you guys come out this Thursday. Come hang out with us. Let's get on the air. Let's have a blast. It's going to be great times. And the tickets, I put a thing together. This is what the tickets cost you. It's for charity. You get 1 for $3, 5 for $10, 6 for $20. And when you give 20, we give you a bonus ticket. So you actually get 7. This is, again, it's all for charity. So whether you win, you lose, whatever, it's all going to a great cause. There's going to be 10 or 12 winners. We also have 2 sets of Cubs tickets. We got 7 Bears pictures. We got 2 mini helmets. We got so much stuff to give away to you guys as a thank you and to raise money for charity for people less fortunate than us. So just remember, this Thursday, 102 North River Street Tavern, 4-star Chicago Bears in partnership with Bears Care, raising some money for people less fortunate than us. Hopefully we see y'all there this Thursday. All right.
Oh, yeah. And I wanted I wanted to extrapolate on something you were saying there with Ben Johnson, because this builds into what Kyle's saying. Ben Johnson, before he went for the toys, he built his offensive line. Well, the Detroit Lions drafted offensive line, and they built a very strong offensive line before they put Jahmyr Gibbs behind it.
Correct.
So you do need to build your offensive line through this draft. What I'm saying is, if you're looking at center, where they address with Dahlman, you're looking at your left guard, they address with Tooney, you're looking at your right guard, they address with Jackson. That's the one I feel the most uneasy about for sure. You drafted Darnell Wright a couple years ago. He's your starting right tackle. Left tackle is a big concern for sure. But you also, if you have the chance to draft a game-changing player like Ashton Jeanty or Tyler Warren, you got to go for that. I feel like I don't feel like you can pass up on that opportunity for what is not really a strong left tackle class. That's really what it boils down to for me. But Ben Johnson has shown he's going to build the offensive line before he gets his toys.
Really quick, I want you guys to listen to this. It's about 1 minute. It's probably the best thing I've ever heard about breaking down this draft.
This is one of my favorite quotes in the history.
Yes, this was from the Move the Sticks podcast.
History of
This
sports.
minute is fantastic. It explains this entire draft.
Like the Detroit thing, what Ty was just mentioning with Jahmyr Gibbs. And I think, to me, the importance is the order of operation. Like I just kind of use the analogy of like, hey, you got to do your shopping at the hardware store before you go to the toy store. Like Detroit built up the line of scrimmage. They had the offensive line. They had the key positions. They had the edge rusher on the defensive side of the ball. All the marquee guys, all the marquee spots filled. Okay, now you can drop the running back in and do it with a high resource. And I have no problem with that whatsoever. When you get in trouble is if you get the cart before the horse, knowing these running backs only have, most of them a 6-year, 7-year max prime, and you've wasted 3 years on bad teams of those carries. Like, I want all of your carries to matter once I start the clock on the running back. So that's kind of been my philosophy there. But Jeanty as a player, he's my third player in this draft. And people, I've talked to teams and kind of said, like, this kind of sums up this draft. It's a little different than years past. 3 of my top 7 players are 2 tight ends and a running back. Like, that's so at some point in time, it's like, I get positional value. I would love to throw a bunch of tackles up there and a bunch of proven edge rushers and quarterbacks and stack those guys up at premium positions. They're not in this draft. And I think, like, you make big mistakes when you pass on a great player at a lesser position to take somebody just to fill a need. Like, I think that's when you mess up, man.
Yeah,
And
which we all said, right?
That's
10,
Daniel Jeremiah, guys.
Yeah.
10 Jeanty or Warren. We've all said that. At 10 go get
And I
that.
kind
There
of
is no
feel like we're
the hardware
all-
store stuff's not there, but in the second and third round it is. So go get it.
Well,
Right?
I kind of feel like we're all saying it. We're just saying it in different ways. Exactly what he just said. It's just we're not agreeing for some reason and saying the exact same thing.
Well, I mean, I think Kyle gets frustrated because he thinks that we're not paying enough attention to the most valuable asset on this team, which is Caleb Williams. But I will continue to say that Poles is. He hired Ben Johnson. He's improved this offensive line tremendously with the moves he's already made. And I think the one thing that's being neglected when it comes to this development of Caleb Williams is a stud running back. Look what that did for Jalen Hurts last year, guys, adding Saquon Barkley to the Philadelphia Eagles. I just think that's the one thing we're neglecting when it comes to this. You've put a lot of assets into this offensive line already this offseason. Not saying you should stop or I'm against doing it. I just think that if you're looking at, like what Jeremiah just said, if you're looking at Jeanty there at 10 and Kelvin Banks, it's Jeanty all the way.
Yeah,
And
if you're talking about the 10 pick, I've said that. You got Jeanty or Warren. If they're there, you take them. That's a blue chip quality player. When you get to the second round, Dustin just said the most important thing on the offense for the Eagles last year. What was even more important than Saquon Barkley was their left tackle, who's been there for what, 4 years now, 5 years now? I mean, they know they built their offensive line first too. They did the exact same thing that the Lions did. They're like, hey, let's build this offensive line. Then we'll start dropping all these little toys in here and we'll win a Super Bowl. That's what the Bears need to do. Finish the offensive line.
And they signed Mekhi.
They
signed Mekhi Becton and got a lot of good play out of him in the run game. I mean, their offensive
finish
line
the
was very
offensive line.
good. For
You
sure.
guys know what crushed my soul? Losing Matt Pryor to the Eagles. That crushed my. That guy to me is.
That's weird that you cared that much about that.
He's a starter. He's a starter. Go look at his
I know.
PFF number. The guy's a
I
starter.
mean,
he was
a
the
starter
number
last year on
11th
this
ranked-
Bears offense.
Yeah, he was the number 11th ranked guard in the NFL, and now he's a backup on the Eagles. Like Bears, you could have had him here in case Jonah Jackson sucked, or Joe Tooney is too old,
That's
or
a
Jonah
good
Jackson
point.
gets hurt. You could have had him here. Why were they signed Zacchaeus and all these guys that went and signed in the offseason?
I'm
These
gonna
guys
say-
who are like not gonna play here next year, like the Minnesota safety. Why didn't you re-sign Matt Pryor?
I'm going to say this.
That depth would have been
Doesn't make
nice.
sense.
I agree with
I'm going
that.
to say this. When you look at their top 30 visits and you look at exactly what they're looking for, athletic, versatile players, maybe Matt Pryor doesn't fit that mold and what they're looking for. And that's why he wasn't retained by the Bears. Because if you look at some of the guys they did retain, they're shorter, stockier, more versatile players that can move a little bit better. Maybe
Well,
just
I'll tell you this, Sean.
I feel really good about Doug Kramer as a backup guard.
I'll tell you guys this.
I really do.
You know what I would do?
I like Bill.
I would do what the Eagles.
That's
do.
what I meant. Sorry, Bill Murray. Caddyshack.
Yeah,
That's what I meant.
I would-
Sorry.
I would do what the Eagles do.
Not
And
Doug
apparently the Eagles and the best GM in football thought that Matt Pryor was good enough to be a backup there. And they went and signed him. I would be following the Eagles very closely if I was the Chicago. They've been to 2 Super Bowls in the last 3 years, and they're the best drafting team in the NFL.
Well,
So they thought Matt Pryor was good enough to play there.
If Matt Pryor was still on this team, would you feel better about the offensive line depth
yes.
to where
Oh
you're
my
not
God,
you're
yeah.
not drafting a guard
Dustin,
in the second round?
Dustin, 10 times
To where
better.
you're not drafting a guard in the second round.
I think he was the lone bright spot on the offensive line last year. I think Matt Pryor played much better than people ever gave him credit for. I think because the offensive line was in so much shambles. Oh, yeah, and obviously Darnell Wright. But Darnell Wright's going to be here for the next 10 years. That's the guy who's the staple. Right now, to me, he's the guy on the offense. He needs to be the guy. He needs to be Penei Sewell. But Matt Pryor was the second best offensive line on the Bears last year. They re-signed Bill Murray. Who
I like.
They still have the Canadian Eagle, and that why was Matt Pryor not a priority? It doesn't make sense to me. That move did not make sense.
Priority.
It didn't make sense to me. This guy has now played for the 49ers, the Eagles, the best organizations in the NFL with great GMs. And the Bears are like, all right, take it easy, Matt. Thanks for your services. It didn't make sense to me at all.
Steel
Did not make sense.
The Canadian Eagle. I need an Eagle sound effect for every
I
time
texted all you guys when Matt Pryor signed with the Eagles, and I was like, how the hell did Ryan Poles let this happen? How do you let this happen? This guy could have shirt up that Jonah Jackson question mark that we all have, right? We all know this guy's dealt with injuries. We all know he hasn't played well in recent years. Why would you just let Matt Pryor walk out of the building? It doesn't make sense. He was already here.
I can guarantee you this. There is not another Chicago sports podcast that is talking this much about Matt Pryor not being on the Chicago Bears. Kyle is really heated about that. And listen, he did play well in a role that he really wasn't supposed to be in last year. And I appreciated what he did. Maybe he was going to be too expensive for what they thought he was worth, and they didn't want to continue on with him for that reason, Kyle. I don't know the details of his deal because it wasn't a highly reported deal.
I think he signed 1 year, $3 million.
And they signed him this past year, 1 year, $1.15 million, or the minimum, right? So
I don't think, and I don't want to talk crap about what you said, Kyle. I don't think Matt Pryor makes or breaks this team either way. I think
the offensive line does.
I think you need to find quality, and I think for where they've done, like I said about 45 minutes ago now, I think they got off to a really good start, but I'm going to repeat myself and say I think that's all that it is, because I still do think there are question marks. Braxton Jones isn't 100% healthy. The only solidified, solid 2 parts you have are Tooney and Darnell Wright. Outside of that,
Matt Pryor's.
After that deal you gave Dahlman, he better be solidified. He better 1.3 million.
I think Dahlman
better be a solid option at center after what they gave him in free agency, guys.
I think Dahlman is a good center. His problem is availability, and he has missed a lot of games. When he's out there, he's a very good center.
Yeah, all offensive line. This is why every team has 15 offensive linemen, because they all get hurt. Those bunched up trenches with those guys who are 350 pounds, they break fingers, arms, they fall on each other's knees. We've seen it 1,000 times, guys. That's why every team has 10, 11 good quality offensive linemen. I'm not talking about all starters. I'm not saying all starters, but hey, in case of emergency, our quarterback won't be destroyed if we put this guy in. The Bears don't have that.
I don't think every team in the NFL has 10 quality players on the offensive line.
Good backups.
If you can have 6 or 7 quality players on your offensive line, you're better than most of the league, bro. And that's a hard thing to do.
And
that's a hard thing to do.
They don't have 6 or 7 quality offensive linemen. The Bears do not.
Well, guys, let's move this train along to
they have 4.
Our picks, because time is ticking away, and we're ticking away
closer to the NFL draft.
Yeah. And I have my 10 players who I think this draft is going to go. Do you want to do that first, or you want to go 10 39, 41, 72.
Let's do the top 10 picks first, because that's going to kind of outline who you think the Bears are getting at 10.
Well, there's so much uncertainty on this team or in this draft. I'm rolling my 10. Oh, actually, do you guys want to do 1, 2, 3, each other's top 3? Because they should be pretty close. I think our first 2 are going to be close. I'm kind of surprised everyone at 3, and I'm probably going to be wrong on Thursday.
Let's just get into it. Let's just get into it. Yeah.
Well, I have Ward and Carter, and then at my 3, based on the news that I'm hearing about Mr. Shedeur Sanders spending more time with the Giants than any team, any player in this draft with any other team. Giants need a quarterback. I think this is a very bad gamble for them with Shedeur Sanders, but I took Shedeur Sanders at number 3 going to the Giants, and I think that will throw a monkey wrench into the last few picks here in this draft. So,
what are your first 2? You got Cam Ward and
I got Cam Ward and Carter. Cam Ward and Carter.
Wow.
Okay,
that's actually kind of surprising. I got Cam Ward and Travis Hunter. 1 and 2.
Yeah, I'm going Cam Ward, Travis Hunter. Cam Ward, Travis Hunter.
Hey guys, I think I'm wrong. Hold on, let me go. Yes, I got Travis Hunter. Sorry.
I was going to say they just signed Myles Garrett. You think they're going to Carter? That'd be a lot of.
I mean, that's a possibility.
It is, but I think Travis. I mean, the Cleveland Browns have been heavily tied to Travis Hunter. They're actually bringing him today or tomorrow.
Travis Hunter's the best player in this draft, guys. He's the best overall player in this draft.
I think they're bringing him today to tell him you're going to be a Cleveland Brown. That's what I think, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yes, and I did have
Brennan, who's your top 2?
Who's your top 2, Brandon?
Cam Ward, Travis Hunter.
So we all agree on the top 2 picks. Sean, you said you think the Giants take Shedeur Sanders. Dustin?
My 3, 4, 5 is Sanders, Carter, and then Membu to Jacksonville.
Justin?
I got Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter to the Giants. I think the Giants will get back into the first round or right at the top of the second, get their quarterback. Will Campbell to the Patriots. They need someone to protect Drake May badly on that team. And then I don't see how the Jaguars pass up Mason Graham. So those are my top 5.
Brennan?
I have Cam Ward, Travis Hunter. I also have Shedeur Sanders to the Giants. I have the Patriots taking Abdul Carter and Mason Graham to the Patriots.
Oh, you got Sanders at 3?
No, I got Giants taking Abdul Carter at 3. I don't think they believe Shedeur Sanders is the quarterback of the future. They've visited him twice. They visited 9 other players twice. The New England Patriots, Mike Vrabel is known for taking offensive linemen. He took in 2020, he took Isaiah Wilson, tackle. 2023, he took Peter Skoronski. I think he takes Will Campbell at 4. And I think the Jacksonville Jaguars, like I said, we just saw Mason Graham working out with the Jacksonville Jaguars t-shirt on. You don't really do that if you're a player. There's 4 or 5 teams you think you could fall to. I think he's been told he's going to be Jacksonville Jaguar. And I think the Jacksonville Jaguars take Mason Graham at number 5.
I have Dustin. Did you do yours?
I mean, are we going the full top 10? I got my top 5.
Did you do 3, 4, 5? I might be spacing out here. My bad.
Sean, who's your 6, 7, 8?
I have Will Campbell going to Vegas at 6. I have Mason Graham going to the Jets at 7. And I have Tyler Warren going to Carolina at 8.
Wow, Sean, your draft is I'm glad we did this. I would never that's a very surprising draft. That would blow my mind. Brandon? 6, 7, 8.
What up? How you doing?
I have Ashton Jeanty. I have Ashton Jeanty going 6 to the Raiders. I have the Jets taking Will Campbell, and I have the Panthers taking Jalen Walker.
I had
we're not going to 9 with the Saints. We're just stopping at 8.
I did to 8.
6, 7, 8, yeah. 3 to 10.
At 6, I got Jeanty Barron, cornerback to the Raiders. I think the Raiders need a big help in the defensive backfield. I think Jeanty Barron is turning himself into the best cornerback option in this draft, and Pete Carroll loves him. So Jeanty Barron, Armand Membu to the Jets. I think that makes too much sense. They need a right tackle badly, and he could be the best offensive tackle in this draft at that right tackle position. And then I'm with Brandon. I got Jalen Walker going 8 to the Panthers. I think that their defensive coordinator needs some talent, and that's a guy that if you add that to that team, it's going to make a big difference for them.
I got Ashton Jeanty going to the Vegas Raiders at 6. I got Aaron Glenn in his first draft ever, sticking with the defense, drafting Shamar Stewart, the only player the New York Jets have visited with more than once at 7, and the Carolina Panthers drafting Jalan Walker at 8.
Well, slightly different. I have Jalan Walker going 9 to the New Orleans Saints.
Interesting.
And,
I got Shedeur Sanders going 9 to the Saints.
Go ahead and pitch your 9-10, Sean.
Well, I took Walker to the Saints. I really had a hard time with 8, 9, and 10. I do think that the Saints want a quarterback. I think that they're going to end up with Jackson Dart a little bit later, or maybe at 9, which would shock the entire draft, a la what's his name, Michael Penix from last year. It would not surprise me at all if the Saints made that move. I know you guys don't like Dart as much as you like these other guys, but I should have put up the graphic. Dart had a better year than all 3 of these guys in every meaningful statistical category, played in a much better conference against much better competition.
I like Dart, Sean. I say this every time you bring him up. You always throw me into that group. I like Dart. I do. I think Shedeur Sanders. I think Shedeur Sanders is a better option. I think Dart is a day 2 guy going right at the top of that second round, or maybe traded back into the first 4.
The whole world likes Dart, man. He's projected to be a late first round pick. I mean, it's not like they're saying he's going to be
off.
awful.
Bottom left here isn't a fan.
Yeah, I don't want to get into a Jackson Dart. We're dragging this out. What's your 9-10, man?
But Jalan Walker, I had going. I actually had this flipped, but I flipped it, and then obviously that only leaves Ashton Jeanty to the Chicago Bears at number 10.
Nice.
I have the Saints addressing their number 1 need by all measures at Jade Barron, cornerback, and I have the Bears drafting Tyler Warren.
Okay.
I don't think that's the Saints' number 1 need. But
I think their number 1 need is quarterback.
Yeah, I have the Saints drafting. I have the Saints drafting Shedeur Sanders. I heard an interview yesterday. Kellen Moore said he sees a lot of Jalen Hurts in Shedeur Sanders, or vice versa. He just won a Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts. I believe if he's available at 9, the Saints are going to draft Shedeur Sanders, and he thinks he can turn him into a all-pro kind of quarterback. And I have the Bears selecting Tyler Warren, tight end.
So we got 2 Tyler Warrens. I have Shedeur Sanders going number 9 to the Saints as well. I think there's a high possibility that they trade up potentially with the Raiders to 6 to secure Shedeur Sanders to make sure that they get him. I think I think the Saints are in desperate need of a quarterback, and like you said, I think they like Shedeur Sanders a lot more than most. So that makes total sense to me. And then I got Ashton Jeanty going to the Bears at 10. That's fully relying on the Raiders not going running back and going with another big need they have, which is cornerback in my mind as well.
I actually had the Cowboys trading up to 6 to select Ashton Jeanty with the Vegas Raiders.
Interesting.
And if I may, I don't hate Ashton Jeanty. I've never used the word hate in Ashton Jeanty. I dislike him this high in the draft. It's an obvious pick if he's there. I'd much rather.
Yeah, we just talked about this. Everybody heard us say that the Bears would be smart to take Jeanty at 10 if he's available.
I would much rather have Tyler Warren in this position, but the way I did my draft, it didn't work out that way. I would much rather have Warren and then select one of these backs later on, because as I've stated for weeks, I think Damian Martinez is a stud. I think RJ Harvey's a stud. I think Devin Neal's a stud. I think there's, outside of the Caleb Johnsons, the Junkins, and the Hendersons, I think there's a lot of other talent in this draft where you can build your roster and still end up with an impact running back in the 5th round, for the love of Christ. It doesn't
yet and still, Sean, your mock has the Bears taking Ashton Jeanty. So good for you. You don't want you think that they would be smarter to not do it, but you're reading the tea leaves and you're making a decision here that you're not exactly the happiest with.
I'm not.
At least you're acknowledging that Jeanty is a damn good player and would be a damn good pick for the Bears at 10.
And how about the fact that the Jets have not brought in a single one of the top 5 left tackles for a Pro 30, a combine visit, or a workout? Not one of them. And all of their top 30, 80% of their 30s are defense, which it makes sense for Aaron Glenn,
defensive head
coach.
And that's why I took Mason Graham to the Jets, because I think he's going to fall a little bit. I mean, maybe he does go to Jacksonville, but you also got to remember the Jaguars have to protect Trevor Lawrence. And T-Law really needs some help on that line staying upright. If they're going to use a pick later on another 6'3" wide receiver, which pair, say, Brian Thomas Jr. with the Jaden Higgins, and holy crap, do they got something in Jacksonville? You need to keep your quarterback upright. Hence
Trevor
why
Lawrence needs a whole lot of help with a whole lot of things, man. I don't know if the Jaguars can address it all, but I mean, I think taking an offensive lineman would be a good start for the Jaguars, but they also need a lot of help on that defense.
Yeah, I mean, man, if you could put Mason Graham next to Walker and Josh Allen, is Josh Allen still there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a huge contract.
That's some scary defensive front for.
I do like what Thomas. I like what Thomas Mathias says here, because I have thought if the Bears get stuck without any of the guys that we continuously mock to this team, I would select Jahdae Barron. If I'm the Bears,
I wouldn't be mad at it. I love Barron.
You have no Tyler Warren. You don't have any of these guys that you've been visiting. The guys you sought after, the guys they're reported to love so much. They visited with Jahdae Barron. I think that they believe there's potential. He will be there when they pick, and none of the other guys they want will.
If the Bears went Jahdae Barron at 10, if those guys were gone, Brandon, Warren and Jeanty, if the Bears went Jahdae Barron, if the Bears went Jihad Campbell, if the Bears went Mykel Williams, or Will Johnson, I would not be upset with any of those picks. I think any one of those four guys makes your team better immediately.
And to be honest with you,
you can debate the need, but I think they all make your team better right away.
The more that I read, because by the way, they were going over on 670 scored today, the best five positions, best five players every position. Jalen Walker was listed as the second best edge prospect, not linebacker, edge prospect.
Well, I think we all just said
I
he was
wouldn't
top 10
be shocked if the Bears selected Jalen Walker at 10 to be an edge player on this team.
I think he'll be gone by then. I think it makes a lot. I think the Panthers are starting to make a lot of sense for him, to be honest. But if he's there, I mean,
yeah.
I think you got to replace Brian Burns. You got to replace him.
But he is not being reported as a linebacker, guys. No matter who he's projected to, that's not what he's being drafted as. He's being drafted as exactly what we talked about when we went over him on this show a couple weeks ago. He is, by all measures, going to have probably 90% of his snaps are going to be at the line.
He's an edge rusher. That's what he is. He is not a true linebacker in the NFL.
He's not gonna be.
No.
Do you guys find it interesting at all that a lot of these mock drafts have players going to teams who they've never visited with? Don't you think that's kind of strange?
I find it kind of a little weird, but
I think it's strange. Like immediately when we did this top 10, I went and looked at the visits. Immediately, I'm like, well, it's got to be somebody they visited with, right? Like I immediately went to the visits.
Illinois Jones.
It's got to be a top 30 or a combine or pro day. It's got to be one of those have to be in there, right? They have to be.
We got over 50 in the chat right now, guys. Thanks for everybody who's out here, everybody who's watching this show. Thanks for
y'all are killing it tonight.
Yeah. Thanks for all the comments.
Love y'all for being here.
Keep them rolling.
Thank you.
What do you guys
see you this Thursday at River Street, 102 North River Street for the draft party? Come on out and hang out with us, everybody.
We did our top 10 guys, and I mean that led to Sean having Ashton Jeanty to the Bears, Kyle having Tyler Warren, Brandon having Tyler Warren, and I had Ashton Jeanty. And if it's a choice between those two guys at 10, I think the Bears are in a pretty damn good spot at that 10 overall pick. Do you guys want to recap that, or you want to just move into our first four picks for the Bears? What we think the ideal picks would be?
We could, Sean, spit your 10 real quick, 1 through 10. Go quick. What you just said.
Shit.
I'll go. Okay.
I had Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Sanders 3, Carter 4, Membu 5, Campbell 6, Graham 7, Tyler Warren 8, Jalon Walker 9, and Ashton Jeanty number 10.
All right, I had Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders, Abdul Carter, Mason Graham, Ashton Jeanty, Will Campbell, Jalen Walker, Jahdae Barron, Tyler Warren.
The Saints do need a cornerback, Brandon. That makes some sense. I had Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter going to the Giants. The rich get richer on that defensive line. Will Campbell, they need a left tackle there badly. I think Will Campbell is that. Mason Graham to the Jaguars. Jahdae Barron, surprise pick to the Raiders. Membu to the Jets. Jalon Walker to the Panthers. Shedeur Sanders, the Saints get their quarterback at 9. And then the Bears with Ashton Jeanty. Yay.
Yeah, 1 Cam Ward, 2 Travis Hunter, 3 Abdul Carter, 4 Will Campbell, 5 Mason Graham, 6 Ashton Jeanty, 7 Shamar Stewart, 8 Jalon Walker, Shedeur Sanders, and Tyler Warren.
And
what a crooked commish.
I'm just going to go on record and say I don't believe that Shedeur Sanders should be a top 10 pick, let alone a top 20 pick. That's just my opinion. I'm not sold on the guy. He could not win in the Big 12. The Big 12 doesn't play defense. Anytime he played a Power 5 school, I don't have to make this up. The proof is in the pudding. He did not win. His numbers suffered. When he played tomato cans, he lit up the scoreboard and made everyone think he was great. I think he is personally more involved in what's going on outside of football, his personal life, his Instagram, his social media crap.
You gotta have some merit to that. You gotta
well,
have some
here's the
merit.
Here's the good thing for Shedeur Sanders, Sean, that you're not drafting. The Saints need a quarterback, and Shedeur Sanders is the second best quarterback in this draft by a lot of people's consensus.
Nobody said that this kid's work ethic is bad in any way, shape, or form. We're just kind of malicious.
Go on the media right now. What's he paying more attention to? His draft stock or what's going on in the social media?
I haven't heard anyone say that he has poor work ethic.
Google it, and then you can text me later. It's not that hard to find.
Okay, well, we'll revisit this when Shedeur Sanders is playing in the NFL. I think he will be a top 10 pick because there are quarterback needy teams that will get desperate enough to take him. He would not be a first round pick in last year's draft, not even close. He would not be a first round pick in the draft before that. But in this draft, when you have teams that need a quarterback, and he's the second best quarterback by all accounts, besides a few people who like Jackson Dart or Tyler Sluch or whatever the hell Shuck. However you say his name, and I guess Will Howard could be there, but Shedeur Sanders is the second best guy in this draft by most accounts. So he's going to get taken, and it will be in the first round. He's not going to fall past the Steelers at 21. I guarantee that.
Don't forget about Tyler Huff. They might be looking at him.
Shuck. That's what I just said. Shuck.
Don't forget about
Shuck.
Yes,
don't forget about
it's spelled Shough.
Yes, pronounced.
And don't forget about Jalen Milroe,
yeah,
potentially the best long-term pro quarterback in this draft.
Hey, real quick,
I'll give that to Jackson Dart.
Turd Ferguson.
Jalen Milroe is a player that people are sleeping on.
I like Jalen. I wanted to talk about this. The quarterback class in this draft is very interesting to me. I think on day 2, the very top of that second round, you're going to see a whole lot of movement. Teams trying to get that quarterback. Shuck is an interesting one. I think Will Howard is a lot better than people give him credit for.
Bring him up.
I think Will Howard might be the third best quarterback in this draft. I like him a lot. Could see like Kirk Cousins level ceiling with him.
He's probably better than Shedeur Sanders.
I like Will Howard, and I got Shedeur a little bit above him, but it's going to be very interesting to see how these quarterbacks play out. And Jalen Milroe is a guy I like a lot. The Giants, I don't think they're going to take a quarterback at number 3 because they like a lot of these day 2 prospects, and they can just nail that down at the start of the second round or trade back up into the late first to get one of these guys. I think they're going to play it smart when it comes to that. But to watch how these quarterbacks fall in this draft is going to be very interesting, guys. That day 2 of the draft, going to be a lot of movement when it comes to these quarterbacks.
Illinois Jones says after Cam Ward, I think it's pick your flavor. So
for sure. And I wanted to shout out Illinois Jones for joining us, Amphioris, Turd Ferguson, Ant Mass, Crooked Commish, all coming to the party a little late, but that's cool. We welcome all comers. Thank you for being here. If you haven't hit that like button, if you haven't hit it, please make sure you smash it and share it with a friend. And thanks for being here.
When it comes to Shedeur Sanders, do you feel that his jersey should be retired at Colorado?
No.
I don't care. I just don't care.
No, I just want to ask because
I don't care one way or the other.
This guy's put on a pedestal not because of his football play, but because of his last name.
His dad is the head coach, and his dad calls the shots for that football program. So there you go.
So that makes him a top 10 pick in this draft.
No. An NFL GM drafting. No, Sean, an NFL GM drafting him in the top 10 will make him a top 10 pick in the draft. Sure. The proof will be in that pudding. If someone doesn't do it, then it doesn't happen, and he's not worth it. That's the way it goes.
When you have him being drafted in the top 10, Sean.
Yeah, because the Giants have a need, and the Giants are following around.
For whatever reason, you do. I'm not questioning why.
I don't like him. I think it's a mistake by the Giants who just continue to make mistake after mistake because Schoen's an idiot.
Yeah, I can tell you this: those two will be fired at the end of this season.
Joe Shane
and Brian Daboll will be fired at the end of this season. No doubt.
Brian Daboll.
It's a bad look. It's a bad look for them, but we'll see how that goes. We got to worry about the Bears.
I would actually fired him after that video with
Mara about Saquon Barkley. Yeah,
dude. I would have been like, you're out of here, dude.
Yeah. Listen, I think Shedeur Sanders can be a very solid quarterback in a good West Coast scheme that gets him to get the ball out quickly. He's an accurate passer in the middle of the field. He's an accurate intermediate passer. I think if you use him to his strengths, he could be a solid quarterback. I would say like Teddy Bridgewater type of quarterback. And that's could be good enough for a team that needs that.
And it's not quantifiable.
Wasn't turning turnstiles.
It's not quantifiable.
Well, he was also injured all the time too, so that didn't help.
It's not necessarily quantifiable, but he's also the son of a man who worked his ass off to play phenomenally in 2 different sports. That has to have an impact on a guy's approach. It has to. There's just no doubt.
I like Shedeur Sanders. I like him better than most people do. I see him going in the top 10. Obviously, Sean does too, because there is a need for that. Dante Purify says, let me guess, Adam Morrison will be better than Carmelo Anthony. No.
I'm not going there. Adam
Morrison was a bust from day one. I knew that shit. I wasn't touching Adam Morrison with a 10-foot pole.
The mustache alone.
Michael Jordan did, but I wouldn't have.
Does playing competition matter? Because when Shedeur Sanders played good competition, he looked like ass, and he didn't win football games. So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure.
But yet, he had the number 1 player that you guys just said, the best player in this draft is Travis Hunter. He had him on his football team. By all accounts, he started Shedeur Sanders as a top 10 team every year and wound up the season with a losing record out of the top 25 in a rather weak Big 12 conference, a conference that doesn't.
They did not start in the top 10 2 years ago.
You want to bet?
They were ranked 2 years ago. Last year they were, but the year before that they weren't even ranked.
Before that, they were a top 25 football team.
Okay. Top 10 or top 25? I don't remember them being ranked at all.
This is not a Colorado podcast.
Yeah, 15. But does that matter if you're a top 15 team and you can't even make it to a bowl game?
Listen, you got something against Shedeur Sanders. I get it. I think that he's a better player. I think that he's a better player than you're giving him credit for. And you've made the same argument when it comes to Ashton Jeanty and the competition he plays. But look at the competition the people he's playing with too. You know what I'm saying? So like there's multiple factors that go into this.
I've said this many times. I think Ashton Jeanty is going to be fine in the NFL. I just don't think Ashton Jeanty is going to be this Hall of Famer that everyone thinks he is. Maybe he'll be wrong.
It's worth mentioning Shedeur Sanders' team, not last season, not the Travis Hunter.
Brandon, you keep saying let's not do this.
The season prior, not a single Colorado player was drafted to the NFL. He didn't have a whole lot of talent around him.
He did not. He did not. And outside of Travis Hunter this year, not a whole lot of talent in that.
But yet they were ranked top 10 in the country. Why? Because Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. Because they played in a weak-ass Big 12 where they couldn't beat the bottom teams in the Big 12. That's all I'm saying.
Why was Kansas ranked in the top 10 in basketball this year?
I'll say this. I've known Sean for years now. We've been talking about quarterbacks since in all these drafts. Sean said that CJ Stroud was better than Bryce Young. So far, correct. Sean said you'd be fine if you traded back and took Jaden Daniels instead of Caleb Williams. So far, Sean, you were probably correct. Sean said Jackson Dart's the best quarterback in this draft, better than Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. We'll find out, guys. Let's move on to our top 4 picks for the Chicago Bears.
Sean also said Will Levis could have a good year last year.
And I also, if you go back to the preseason draft show at the beginning of August, I told everyone to watch out for who? Bo Nix. Kyle was on the show. I still have the right.
Yeah, I thought that. Yeah, I thought the same thing. I think we all.
I don't look at quarterbacks the right way though. I'm terrible at it. So don't listen to me.
No, you got a vendetta against Shedeur. That's clear. I mean,
I don't have a vendetta against Shedeur. Everyone has him on this pedestal. When you get on this pedestal, you do things that Jaden Daniels did in college. You do things that Caleb Williams did in college. He did not do that. His name is got him where he is. He's an okay quarterback who is going to fail in the NFL.
Well, but Sean,
get my name on it.
But
okay, I think he's going to be a solid player.
Sean, do you think he fails under Kellen Moore?
College quarterbacks over the last 3 years, and that guy sucks.
Sean, do you think Kellen Moore could be could make him good? At least a serviceable quarterback in the NFL.
If he's in the right system, as I said, he needs to be in the right system. A West Coast offense that gets him the ball, gets him to get the ball out quick because he holds the ball for too long. He's a very accurate passer, actually, in the middle of the field in the intermediate routes.
No one has him on a pedestal. They want to retire his jersey at Colorado for being a loser. That's putting him on a pedestal.
He shouldn't have his jersey retired. But I mean,
I love you, Dante.
But Quinn Ewers dominated college football, and that guy sucks. And
Yeah,
should
Quinn
probably
Ewers
be like a
is ass.
7th round pick.
Quinn
Yeah.
Ewers fell off. Quinn Ewers
He
was a
sucks.
good quarterback. I don't know what happened.
I never thought he was a good
the
quarterback.
second half of the year.
Shador Sanders is better than
Hey,
Quinn Ewers. Yes.
Hey, I could say this. Quinn Ewers sucks really bad, but he led his team to the
Right. That's my
semifinal.
point. It won't make him a good pro because he won college football.
I agree with Illinois joins.
He
I think
still
the 49ers would be better off with Shador Sanders than they would be with Brock Purdy. But that's a different conversation for
Wow, I don't know about that. I don't know about that at all.
Dustin, what do you think about that one, bud?
I think Brock Purdy has shown that he's a good NFL.
I think Shador
quarterback.
Sanders could be just as good
I
as
would
him, and you
draft
don't have to
Shador
pay him
Sanders
$50 million
to take-
this year. That's what
I
I
would
think.
draft
That's
Shador
what you
Sanders.
pay a
never know.
quarterback.
Take
You
Brock
never
Purdy's
know.
job in a heartbeat.
Let's get into our first 4 picks. We've been teasing this for fucking an hour and a half now.
All right, let's
get
do it.
into
We got
that.
44 in the building. Let's go.
Thanks for
you know
everybody for
what?
being here.
You know what? Because I'm going to start off with who I want at 10, not my draft. So perfect draft for me. Number 10.
The ideal draft for you. That's what it should be. Not who you think is gonna. What you think would be the best. Not what you think polls is gonna do. Your
Right.
ideal draft.
For me, I think we all know. Booyah!
Tyler Warren at 10. Sean's got Tyler Warren at 10. That's a solid pick. I think we would all be happy with Tyler Warren going to the Bears at 10. Okay. What do you got at 39, Sean?
Whew. I actually going to throw a monkey wrench in this whole thing. We talked about it earlier. I got the Bears trading up out of 39
Okay.
and going to get Josh Connerly.
What are they
That
trading?
would leave us without 41.
So they're trading 41 and 148?
I would go 148. They keep 72 or a third rounder next year.
Oh, that'd be a tough ask. I think they'd have to give up a little more than that potentially. But yeah, so you got them trading up. Just you don't have what number are they trading up to?
I would say just above maybe Kansas City or Philadelphia, somewhere right.
Yeah.
around there.
So with the Bills,
We're gonna have to
maybe?
get ahead of Kansas
Yeah.
City because Kansas City seems to really want Connerly.
Yeah. Okay, so 29 or 30 for the.
Yeah, somewhere right.
The
in there.
Bills
That's
could
why-
the Bills could certainly use more draft capital. They need to
Yeah,
add as many players as they
They're
can.
in cap trouble. They're in cap trouble for
So
sure.
they need to add as many young, cheap players as they possibly
Yeah.
can. They're
Okay,
they're
and
paying
if-
too much money out the door.
If we took out the trade, Josh Connerly at 39 is still potential. So you could say even Josh Connerly at 39.
I'll take
Sean.
Connerly at 39. Then I'm
Yeah.
gonna go. If still available there, I'd probably go because the Bears seem to be following him a little bit as Trayvon Henderson, even though it's a little
Darius.
because he kind of seems to be the same player as DeAndre Swift. But
So Travion Henderson at 41 then?
yeah, Trayvon Henderson, Josh Connerly, and if we're going 72, I'm gonna have to agree with Todd McShay and take the left tackle from Minnesota, Ursary.
So you're going to go
taking two left
two
tackles?
left tackles? Connerly
Oh
and
shit! I
Ursary?
already did take that left tackle, didn't I? I'm tired.
We did our homework on this, guys. I
I'm
promise.
sorry. Oh boy. Oh, come back to me on 72. I got to think about that.
Okay. Okay. Kyle, what do you got?
Yeah, my first pick, just because I think it's most realistic, guys. Ashton Jeanty. I do not believe he's going to fall to 10. I think that's asinine. I think Tyler Warren's going to be the first pick at 10. I think he's going to fall to 10. Very rare that tight ends get drafted in the top 10. I think Tyler Warren falls to the Bears and they take him. I think he's a weapon, not a tight end. I'd follow that up at 39 with Caleb Johnson, running back out of Iowa. My 41 pick would be Jonah
Savania
Savania from Arizona, and then
Arizona
and then in the third round, I would take the left tackle out of Minnesota, Ursary.
Ariante Ursary. So you got Tyler Warren at 39. You had who?
Caleb Johnson.
Caleb Johnson. And then you had Jonah Savian, so the backup guard basically at 41.
I think he would probably start over Jonah Jackson in the long run, but yeah,
your backup guard to start the season. And then Ariante Ursary as a developmental project at the left tackle position. Do you think he takes Braxton Jones' job?
Yes.
Sean, did you raise your hand? Okay. Yes, Sean. What would you?
72. I'm going to go Jalen Lane, slot receiver for the Chicago Bears.
Not Kyle Williams. You're going to go Jalen.
Kyle Williams will be gone at before 72.
Okay.
I'd love Kyle Williams. Love Kyle Williams, but he'll be gone before 72.
Okay. Brandon, you want to go next or you want me to go?
Doesn't matter, man.
Okay, if you're ready, go.
I didn't do ideal draft. I did what I realistically might happen. So I think the Bears do draft Tyler Warren at 10. 39, I think they take like Travion Henderson, the running back nobody expects him to. 41, Landon Jackson, the edge rusher out of Arkansas. And 72, a top 30 visit, and probably the biggest need at depth, Andrew Makuba.
Yep.
Knew he was going Makuba.
Well, so did I. And I went Makuba as well. So, but I'll start here. Number 10, I'm going Ashton Jeanty. And I think it's ideal. Again, like I think that the more I keep thinking about this, Ashton Jeanty changes this offense so dramatically, so quickly that you have to get this guy on your team. I've been against it. I think Quinshon Judkins is a damn good running back, and I've thought he was the best running back, and I think he's the best running back in this class potentially. But Jeanty, in terms of what he can bring to this offense, hard to pass up there at 10. So you can take care of your running back at 10 and then fill in some other needs. 39, I got Luther Burden. I think the Bears can't pass up Luther Burden as your slot receiver. Ben Johnson has said multiple times, slot receiver ends up being the position that gets the ball the most in his offense. For whatever reason, that's just the way it happens. And Luther Burden will be a star at slot receiver if you put him in between Roma Dunze and fucking DJ Moore. I don't see how you can defend that. And I will say that I would pick Emeka Egbuka here. He's a high character guy, the best high character guy in this draft. He's a damn good route runner. He's a great slot receiver, but I think he's going to go in the 20s, guys. I think there's a more realistic chance that Burden is there at 39, but I'd be happy with either Luther Burden or Emeka Egbuka with the 39th pick. 41, I mean, again, this guy could go in the first, and he could fall to 45. Nick Scourton, the other defensive end out of Texas A&M, the guy who actually had production, played at Purdue, had 10 sacks his sophomore season. And he's played in the SEC and the Big Ten and got production. He's 6'5", 285, and he's just a straight pass rusher. So you put him on your defense and you let him just go after the quarterback in situational roles to start out. And the Bears need that desperately, a guy who just gets after the quarterback. I like Landon Jackson, Brandon, but I think he's more of a guy who's going to be a run defender to start his career. I think you build into the run defense with Nick Scourton, but you just let him go after the quarterback to start. I think the Bears need that desperately. And then at 72, I got Andrew Makuba, just like you, Brandon. I think he could be a starting safety in this league very early on in his career. He's a playmaker. He's a hard hitter. We love this guy. And if the Bears get him at 72, I would be ecstatic. So I got 2 offense, then I got 2 defense. And unfortunately, I didn't see a spot to get an offensive lineman. I like Jeanty and Burden as my 2 options on offense to start. I think you're adding 2 awesome playmakers to your team if you pull that off. Yeah, Darius, I did. I mean, I love Quinshon Judkins, bro. But if Jeanty's there at 10, you can't pass him up. You can't pass him up.
Because I feel like Justin's been the Quinshon Judkins guy, and then
I
it's like all these rumors come out today, and it's like,
if you listen, I think, and again, this also comes down to this. And I said it on the Bear minimum.
If he's there, he's on the Bears.
Exactly. The Bears are going to take him if he's available at 10. He is 100% their guy, their preferred guy. And we were saying this before this report came out. We just said it on Thursday on the Bare minimum. So I think it comes down to what the Bears are going to do.
If you had to make a percentage, I want to hear all your guys, just your opinions. Percentage chance that Ashton Jeanty is available to the Chicago Bears at 10 in the NFL draft.
50%. I think it's 50-50.
Yeah, I'd say 50-50.
Sean?
I think it's hard to project.
I'm going to go 30.
If there's one guy in the NFL draft that some team, the Steelers, the Cowboys, the Broncos are going to trade up for, it's Ashton Jeanty. He's not going to make it to 10.
Yeah, but the Steelers aren't moving up from 21 to 5. That's just not happening. The Cowboys could potentially, but they don't have a lot of draft capital.
I think if he's available at 8, the Chargers will move from 20 to 8. 100. I mean, not the Chargers, the Broncos.
Okay.
The Broncos.
Yeah, the Chargers are at 22. The Broncos are at 20. And well, I mean, then there's also the potential
trading. I think the Cowboys trading to 6th, where the Raiders draft would be the most likely trade you'll see for Ashton Jeanty.
Yeah, like I said, if he fell to 8, then you guys, I don't know if you guys have paid attention, but Sean,
their 3rd round pick,
absolutely
the 12th overall, and their 3rd round pick to that Raiders team that desperately needs as much fucking help as they can get at every position. They need picks I think the
But you guys
Cowboys
keep
from
talking about
12th
how
to
many
6th would
keep
make
talking
the
about how many
most.
top 30 visits Josh Connerly has. Ashton Jeanty has visited with almost every single
Well, he
team
should,
in the NFL.
because he's a blue
Top
chip
5
talent,
player in this
and there's
draft.
only
Yeah.
there's
Well,
only
this-
like 6 of them.
This thought that
I
no
thought
team
Jeanty
would be
only
willing to
visited with
trade up
3
to go get Jeanty. What?
I thought Jeanty only visited with 3 teams.
No, he visited. Well, first of all, he visited with the Chicago Bears. He's visited with
Yeah, I know. It
Let's
was
see,
the
the
Bears was one of them.
the Panthers, right? Well, I'm not talking about top 30s. I'm talking about like just a combine, pro day, all of it.
I know
I think
Tyler
every
Warren.
I think every team in the NFL is visited with Jeanty except for the Chiefs. If I'm not mistaken.
Illinois Jones asks, has a team ever traded up into the top 10 for a running back?
Yeah, the
I'm
Atlanta
trying to-
Falcons for Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, there's that. Who was there? Was there somebody else recently as well? Like I'm trying
Top
to think.
10?
Yeah,
No, not recently. No.
yeah. The running back position has been so devalued, but I think what we just saw this past season is that
says
teams had that
Sam-
wrong. Teams had that wrong.
Well, you're also starting to see. You're also seeing. Was it Jeremiah you played on that audio clip?
There you go. Yeah, Mike Ditka traded up for Ricky Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said
Was that a top
6
10 pick, though?
years. He said 6 years is like what you should expect out of a running back.
7 years, yeah.
The number 1 and 2 running backs in the NFL last year, Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry, have been in the league for longer than that.
Yeah,
The
but I
2
also
best
think
running backs in the
Saquon was
NFL.
on his 6th year, I believe, isn't he?
And those were two very
Also,
successful
7, I
teams,
think.
guys.
I
Yeah, but he
also
said
think that if
he
you
said
look
6
over
or
the
7
average-
in that quote. He said 6 or
And
7.
Kyle, is Saquon Barkley slowing down? Is he done? Saquon Barkley's got another like 4
I think he's talking
years
about
left.
I think he's talking about his prime, not like retiring.
Yeah,
6
no,
to
for
10
sure.
years
And-
was
and-
prime.
And that's a legit stat, Brandon. That is. I mean, you
I
get the
agree
best out of a
100%.
running back for 5 or 6 years in
Before
the
they're
NFL.
30 years old, yeah. And
I
they
think
usually get
that
drafted
stat's
around
about- I
23
think
and they
that
make it to
stat's-
30.
I think that stat is increasing gravely. I really do believe that. I think that these top tier running backs are going to be playing in the league for close to 10 years, and
Do
efficiently.
you guys want to recap those picks for everybody? Our picks 10 through 72 for the Bears.
Yeah, I'll start. I got the Caleb Williams draft, guys. Tyler Warren at 10, tight end. Caleb Johnson at 39, running back at Iowa. 41, Jonas Savanea out of Arizona would be I think would eventually be the starting guard for the Bears over Jonah Jackson. And then you have the left tackle out of Minnesota.
Ariante Ursary.
that would be-
I like your picks, Kyle. I do.
I call
I
it
like-
the Caleb Williams draft. Or
I
Ben
like
Johnson.
the depth. I like the depth at offensive line. I like Jonah a lot as well, man. And Ariante Ursary is a talented, physically gifted dude. There's a lot to work with there. He's not going to be your starter right away. You need a year of
he would
working with
replace would be perfect because by the time Braxton Jones is due to be paid, you got your left tackle who's already been in the NFL for a year, watching, learning.
Yeah, and between him and Karan, you got your backup as well. So you're pretty well set. I had Ashton Jeanty at 10. 39, I had Luther Burden. The Bears get their slot receiver that Ben Johnson desperately needs. 41, Nick Scourton, because I think they need a pass rusher specialist. They need a guy that gets after the quarterback on this defense. They don't do it well enough. I think Scourton can do that. And then at 72, Andrew Makuba, because you do need insurance for Jaquan Brisker and for Kevin Byard, who's going to be out of his deal after this year. The Bears need a safety badly.
Real quick, how much did Zacchaeus get paid? What does anybody know the contract?
It wasn't a
Off the top
lot.
of
It was a
like,
1
what,
year,
$3 million or something.
$3
like that?
million deal. Yeah, it wasn't anything like that they're tied to. I don't think
Yeah, it's
Zacchaeus. I don't think they want him to be their starting slot receiver. I think they'll deal with it if they have to. But if you can replace him with Luther Burden, I don't think that's even a
That's what I'm
conversation.
saying, like, if you had plans of drafting Burton, why wouldn't you, instead of giving $3 million to Zacchaeus, give 1.3 to Matt Pryor?
To Matt Pryor.
It doesn't make sense, man. Whatever.
Oh God, Kyle, you gotta get over the Pryor thing.
Oh,
I'm not going to.
1.5 million on Zacchaeus.
No, yeah, nothing.
Because that money could have been used so much. Whatever. Vernon, what were you for? Vernon?
Oh, I thought you asked Sean.
Enhancing.
You guys are kind of
Enhanced.
it's getting chippy. You're cutting out. Oh, Tyler Warren at 10 because I think
you're the one cutting out, bro.
I think that's the most realistic possibility. I think Ashton Jeanty's off the board by the time the Bears pick. I think Travion Henderson at 39, who I think is the most big play potential player in this draft, even over Ashton Jeanty. I think Travion Henderson is a DeAndre Swift on steroids. I think Landon Jackson at 41. The Bears need an edge rusher. This guy had 6.5 sacks last year. He's 6'7". He's like a Calais Campbell, but more fit. He could probably have that same career, 9 to 14 sacks over a 10-year span. And Andrew Makuba, the safety who they desperately, guys, the one player who I hate saying this, I even hate speaking this into existence. The one player who I can tell you right now is not going to play an entire season on this football team is unfortunately Jaquan Brisker.
Or was
think
Jackson a
Andrew
top
Makuba-
30 visit?
No, I think Andrew Makuba is, or safety in general, is a necessity in this draft. It doesn't have to be Makuba. It doesn't have to be in the third round. You cannot leave this draft hoping that Jaquan Brisker plays an entire year.
And then Sean?
I had Warren. 39 was
What the fuck is going on with Sean?
He fell asleep there.
39 was Warren. What was
10 was Warren. 39.
39 was Henderson.
Sean got drugged.
Sean, no, he traded back into the
30
first
no,
round.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, Connerly. Henderson,
39 was
and then-
Connerly. 41 was Henderson.
Connerly,
72,
Henderson, and then I
Jalen
went with
Lane.
I went with a very desperate need for the Chicago Bears, the speedster, the 4.3 40 guy, Jalen Lane.
That's why I want Luther
visit
Burke.
Chicago Bears.
I'll tell you this. I vacillated between Tyler Warren and Jeanty. And if you went Tyler Warren at 10 in my draft, I'd go Quinshawn Judkins at 39, 100%. And then I vacillated between Mason Taylor and Nick Scourton because the Bears do desperately need a tight end.
And
I just looked at the Bears' biggest needs and tried to address them.
Draft, ideal. And I had this written initially, but Kyle was like, I'm going to go realistically. And I was like, fuck. If Mason Graham makes it past the Jaguars, you look at the teams in front between the Bears and the Jaguars, there's not a whole lot of defensive tackle need.
Panthers, man.
There's a chance. The Panthers also need an edge. There's a chance that Mason Graham would be the 10th pick to the Chicago Bears.
What
And
up,
if he's
K2K?
there, I don't care if Tyler Warren's there. I don't care if Ashton Jeanty's there. If Mason Graham is there at 10, you make that pick undoubtedly.
So if Mason Graham, Ashton Jeanty, and Tyler Warren are there, who is everybody taking?
Mason Graham. So you're asking, Dustin, if you had a top 3 pick in this draft, are you taking Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, and Mason Graham? Or are you taking Tyler Warren and Ashton Jeanty? If you're number one in this
That's what I'm
draft,
asking. I'm
who
not
are you taking?
including
If
Abdul
you're the
Carter,
first-
Travis Hunter.
if you're the first pick in this draft, who are you taking?
I'm taking Travis Hunter.
If you're the second pick in this draft, who are you taking?
Okay, yes, I understand those are the top 3 players in the draft, Brandon. I'm asking you. So then, Sean, who loves Tyler Warren, I'm more interested in hearing what he has to say. I knew your answer was going to be Mason Graham. Would you take Mason Graham over Tyler Warren?
That would be tough. That
Yeah, I
would
mean,
be
at
tough.
3, you would have to because Tyler Warren would be a reach. But if he's there at 10, you take Mason Graham. He's the best
Oh,
player
at
available.
3?
No, at 10. If
Oh,
Mason
I was going to
Graham
say at 3.
falls
God,
to
no.
10,
Yeah, because Brennan's saying he's the 3rd best player. So at 3, you'd have to take him, right? But if you're at 10, you'd have to take Mason Graham. You have to. You absolutely have to because Tyler, it's ridiculous. There's no way he should fall to 10. And the Bears have already played this game with a defensive tackle.
I think the Bears would
And
take
Jalen
Mason Graham
Carter.
over all 3 over
Yeah,
those other 2.
yes,
I think they would
100%.
take him over Jeanty and Tyler Warren.
I think he has nightmares of Jalen Carter. But I mean, at the end of the day, guys, I hope they had as much help for Caleb Williams. I know that people are like, yeah, he's gonna be a franchise. Stop telling me. Show me. I want to see a franchise quarterback in Chicago. I never have. I don't think it's unfair for me to ask that. I'm a Bears fan.
Kyle, I wanted to
I wanna
ask
see
this.
Bears quarterback.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think we all do, Kyle. And one way or another, I think that's going to get done. It's obviously the Bears' number 1 priority, and it better be. But I wanted to ask this before we did our 4 picks. What do you guys see as the biggest needs for the Bears going into this draft? I think that's important to think about when you're making these picks. And I meant to lead with that. What do you see as the biggest needs for the Bears? If you had to list the top 5
starter and at depth.
No, just the biggest needs in general for the Chicago Bears. If you had to list the positions of need 1 through 5, what would they be?
Left for me is left tackle is number 1.
Okay.
Running back is number 2. Defensive end is number 3. Slot receiver is number 4, and safety is number 5.
Okay. So I got running back, edge, slot receiver, left tackle, and safety.
And I would love to throw. I'd love to throw a 3 technique in there, but I just don't.
Defensive tackle was my 7th, and tight
Yeah,
end was my
it's-
6th.
Like Mason Graham was a guy who changes your team immediately, so you draft him. But I just don't. I think you brought Grady Jarrett here, and you got Javon Dexter. We've all talked about how he's been sneaky better than people think he is. I just don't think it's necessarily a position of need, but it certainly wouldn't hurt.
Illinois Jones says left tackle, defensive tackle, running back, DB. Thank you, Illinois Jones. If anybody else has theirs, throw them in. Brandon, what do you think?
Left tackle, edge, running back, safety, slot receiver.
Okay, so slot receiver is lower on your list than it is on mine. I think slot receiver, especially
I
for
think
Ben
Roma
Johnson.
Dunze, Cole Kmet, and DJ Moore are going to catch 3,000 plus yards, man. I think pass catchers.
I don't
should
have
be
that much
your
faith
last
in Cole
priority.
Kmet. I don't have that much faith in Cole Kmet, but I think the slot receiver is very important in Ben Johnson's offense.
And
Sean,
I
what's
think
yours?
if you get a back like Travion Henderson, guys, you can eliminate needing some of these, like the pass catching potential. Like Tyler Warren and a slot receiver, if that didn't end up on your team in the first 3 rounds, you get Travion Henderson, you have like 400 yards receiving right there. You just got it in your backfield. So like and in between him and DeAndre Swift, you probably have like 600, 700 yards receiving in your backfield. So like Travion Henderson, to me, a pass catching back, I'm starting to focus on this as the Bears' gravest need. I really am.
I think DeAndre Swift is that guy, man.
I think he's hit or miss, man. I think he's not a Bear
That's
next
exactly
year.
what he is.
That's what I think.
Sean, what are your top needs for this
Well,
Bears team?
the thing with that is why it baffles me about Travion Henderson, because I think Travion Henderson and DeAndre Swift have a lot of the same character.
But Swift is gone, probably gone.
So not this year. Not this year.
No,
Not
after
this
this
year.
year.
I mean, if you're planning on replacing them, then I understand the pick. But if you're going to take Henderson and you're going to have DeAndre Swift on your roster this year, you're looking at having 2 very similar blacks that do very
Well, they
sim-
met with Henderson and Brashard
Very
Smith.
similar blacks.
whatever. You understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But
Sean,
they-
give us your
but
top
they-
5.
But
Dante
they-
says nose tackle.
Sean
defensive
didn't
end,
give us his
left
top
tackle,
5.
safety. I know. I'm just throwing
Sean,
some
let's
out
hear
the
it.
chat because he still hasn't done it. I'm just throwing some out the chat.
It would probably be for me. It'd probably be left tackle, edge, running back, slot receiver, then safety.
So
Okay.
none of us have a
Sean and I are
tight end
very similar.
as a top 5 need on
I
this.
think Sean
Bears
and I are
team.
the same.
Tight end was 6
Sean
for
and I
me.
are the
Tight
same.
end was 6 for me, man. And it's close between that. and
Tight end
safety.
isn't a desperate need, dude. The reason why I want Tyler Warren is because
I don't
see him
question
as a
why you
tight
want
end.
Tyler Warren. I like
I see
Tyler
him as a
Warren too.
weapon.
It's interesting that the
That we
Bears
want him, yeah. and-
second highest projected player and a player we all love and would love to have on the Bears is not in our top 5.
I
needs.
feel much
think-
better about I feel much better about Cole Kmet in this offense than I do DeAndre Swift after what we saw last year.
I
man.
think Swift is gone next
I
year.
think Tyler Warren would be huge for Caleb Williams, man. That's why I love Tyler Warren so much. I think he would absolutely be massive for Caleb Williams.
Well,
You
so
talk
would
about
Ashton
a
Jeanty.
security blanket, man. Talk about a guy who
Ashton
gets
Jeanty would be a
50-50
bigger
balls.
relief
Talk about a
for
guy who
Caleb.
can run the ball. You talk about a guy who can play
I have a
all
question
3
too
receiving
for you
positions.
guys.
That would be
Sean, what
huge
you
for
got?
him.
Well, Mason Taylor is projected 3rd.
I
round
love
pick.
Mason
If he's
Taylor.
if he's around at 72, he can fill that need for you. The problem is with tight ends is they're so developmental, and it's definitely in his bio that he needs development time. Whereas if you get a Warren or you get maybe a Colston Loveland, you're getting instant impact. So I think that's the biggest difference, even with a Fannin or an Arroyo. You're just looking at development versus instant
Helm.
impact.
As I
Gunnar Helm.
as I said, I
love Gunnar Helm.
I
love
vacillated.
the fuck out of Gunnar Helm, dude.
I love Mason Taylor, and I vacillated between him and Nick Scourton for my number 41 pick. I think Mason Taylor's going to go in the 2nd round. I don't think he's going in the 3rd.
Guys,
The
there's
one
a
thing, the
chance
one
that-
positive about Mason Taylor, if you add him to this Bears offense, Sean, is that you don't need to ask him to block. You just move him around. He's your move tight end. You put him on the outside. You put him in the slot. You put him as your second tight end off the line, and
Yeah,
you
he
ask
can't
Cole
block.
Kmet. You ask Cole Kmet to do that inline blocking, really, and Mason Taylor can just be another weapon in this offense that Ben Johnson can utilize. That would be ideal in a 2
And I
tight end.
do, and I do think that Cole Kmet got a bad rap. He had a bad blocking year last year, but if you look historically through his career, it has not been a weakness of his.
He's certainly a better blocking tight end than Mason Taylor
Oh,
is right now.
J2K threw his up here. J2K
Yep,
says
that's
left.
I've been trying. Left tackle, defensive end, running back, tight end, wide receiver. and then he's got defensive tackle, inside out, offensive line, linebacker.
I could make an argument.
So basically, the entire
I
team.
agree with you on starters. I do think that running back, you need a better starter.
I could make
Running
an
back,
argument.
100%. We need a starting
Kyler
running
Warren
back.
is the best pass catcher in this draft. I could make that argument. I could 100% make that argument. This guy had 104 receptions for 1,233 yards and 8 receiving touchdowns. He had 26 carries for 218 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns, and he was 3 for 6 passing with 35 passing yards and a touchdown. I mean, this guy had 13 touchdowns last year, and he did it in a slew of different ways, which could all help the Chicago Bears at any given moment.
I also
He's a weapon. He's a weapon.
Also, if I'm not
Not a tight end,
mistaken,
he's a
he had a 60% catch rate as well, which is
He had the highest
he had a
50-50 catch rate.
2.8 he had a
in the NFL.
2.8%
Elite
drop
college.
rate on 135 targets and a 61.9% contested catch rate.
Cole
So-
Kmet has like a 2.5% job rate for his freaking
He
career.
does. He does. I love
not
Cole
a-
Kmet. I wondered
Cole
for
Kmet
years
does not have
why
a good
Cole
contested catch rate.
No,
No, yeah,
not
for
a
sure.
good-
He's not an
understand-
athlete like that. He's not an
You
athlete.
don't
like that.
understand
not.
for years why Cole Kmet has not become a weapon inside the 20. The guy's a big
That's what
body,
he should be. That's what
catch
he is.
balls.
Should
He's
be.
not. They don't
Get off
use
him.
him.
Yeah, he should be.
Well,
Get on, but
we
they've never
have
had a
to
Ben
also-
Johnson.
Yeah, we
We've
also
never
have
had Ben
to
Johnson.
consider the offense is changing, and Cole Kmet
And-
should be utilized in a much better
Sean,
way.
tell me-
if Ben
Sean, tell
Johnson
me
is
if-
what we
if
Sean,
think.
tell me
Jaquan
Cole
Brisker-
Kmet's best offensive coordinator ever.
Gonna be Ben
Who was
Johnson.
was it?
I mean,
Who was the
thank
offensive
you.
coordinator at Notre Dame?
No, I'm
Well,
talking-
Dick Doyle, I
there's
guess,
not-
but-
look at
I do
Roman
wanna-
Dude's
I do
best
wanna say
offensive
this, guys.
coordinator in the
In my-
NFL. Shane
In my top
Waldron.
top five needs, if Jaquan Brisker could play a full season, I have linebacker well above safety. I think this linebacking core is much weaker
I
than
don't
the
think
two
anybody here would be
starting
upset if they
safeties.
drafted Campbell. I don't think anybody would be upset about that at all. Jihad Campbell,
want-
10.
I
I
think
don't think
I think
anybody's upset
Byard
about
and
that.
Brisker are better players at their respective positions than Edwards and Edmonds are, and I would much rather have a linebacker if I knew that Jaquan Brisker wasn't such
Guys,
a
if
risk
all
for
the guys we're
future.
talking about are gone and Dustin's right, and this guy is anything like Patrick Willis, that's the best available player at 10. If this guy's Patrick Willis, that's the best available player at 10.
John A. Barron
That's a Hall of
and
Famer,
Jihad
man.
Campbell.
John
That's
A.
all
Barron
fair.
and Jihad Campbell, I love them both. And there's been talk in the chat. J2K says, skill players will be a priority, but that 10th pick should be almost anyone who's best player available. And I mean, the Bears do have a lot of areas they can go in, and they mentioned John A. Barron in the chat earlier. I
And
would
he can
not
move
be
around.
upset.
J2K
Yeah,
said that.
100.
too.
I agree
He's
with
a
you, man.
very
John A-
versatile.
Yeah, he's
defensive
amazing.
back.
I just think that Jihad Campbell has a bigger impact for your team. And that's nothing against Barron at all. I think he's a great player, but the middle linebacker is insanely important in the NFL, especially in a 4-3.
Yeah, it really is.
Huge.
And Jihad Campbell would be
He's
a
your
great
quarterback
addition to
on
any team.
defense.
Yeah,
And I'm
Patrick
growing
Willis
on
and
the
and Warren and Jeanty are gone. You take Jihad Campbell at 10.
I'm growing on the idea because they did this with what's the kid they traded for from Seattle, the edge rusher,
Daryl Taylor.
Daryl Taylor. They did this. He stood up. He didn't always have his hand in the dirt. If I'm growing on the idea of Jalen Walker being on this football team, if the Bears are left
Tweaker, man.
without all the players they want at 10 and Jalen Walker's there, I would not be super disappointed.
He's
if the
still
Bears
listed
make-
linebacker on a lot of different websites.
Yeah, no, he's still the number one linebacker on Draft Buzz. He's still.
He's
the
an
number one
outside linebacker because he's an edge.
No,
He's,
yeah,
he's
So
but
you're
like-
changing his position completely in a 4-3. Completely. You're completely changing his position.
J2K says I'm so
Not an
prepared to
outside
be,
linebacker.
J2K says I'm so prepared to be okay with the 10th pick. It's just a weird draft to be at 10. Yeah, unfortunately, the Bears are at the mercy of everyone that's picking before them. They got to have 4 really good plans in place, 5 really good plans in place,
Yeah, and
for
they are
whatever
literally-
could happen, and they got to be ready to pivot in whichever
And they're
direction they
on
have to,
And they're on the
whether it's
fringe
trading
of,
up or staying put.
and they're on the fringe of those obvious blue chip talent players being gone. They're the first pick of all the blue chip players being gone. Like they could be that first pick where all the blue chip guys are absolutely gone, and now it's like, hey,
We're fucked.
this guy at 10, this guy at 28 might be a better pick in the NFL, might be a better player in the NFL than a 10.
But I do think the
never
blue
know.
chip players, Kyle. I do still think some blue chippers will be there. I think
Yeah. Their names are Jihad Campbell.
Jahad Campbell is a blue chip in this draft. I don't care what anybody says.
So if
Jahad
you're a
Campbell,
10 and Jeanty and Warner are gone, you take
and I
Campbell.
also think Will Johnson.
Mikel Williams is a blue chip player in this draft.
I think Will Johnson is a blue chip player. I think you're getting one of the best defensive backs in college football and a better player than Tyreek Stevenson if you draft Will Johnson. So
people are generally low on the cornerbacks in this draft, guys.
Sean, Warren and Jeanty are gone. Bears are at 10. Nobody's willing to trade up. Who are you taking?
I said earlier,
He'd lean towards Mikel Williams, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that reluctantly. I think that fills a desperate need for the Bears. I would love for them to get an impact offensive player, but if they were gone, I would be okay. I mean, I guess if Barron's there, that's a different story too.
I'd be okay with Barron. I'd be okay with Mikel Williams. I'd be okay with Jahad Campbell. If we think outside the box here, and we're all just saying, well, it's got to be Jeanty, it's got to be Warren. If you think outside the box, there's still a lot of talented players here. Just because the Bears have Jalen Johnson and they just re-signed Kyler Gordon doesn't mean they can't draft Jahdae Barron. And Jahdae Barron is the best cornerback in this draft, so you'd be getting a damn good player. And Will Johnson is right there with him for sure, Brandon. So, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to skin this cat. The Bears, it's going to be hard for them to go wrong.
I'm just biased. I want the quarterback, and it's something Bears fans have never seen, but I'll miss the line.
That's what we're talking about.
I'll miss the linebacker days.
Illinois, we're talking about Jahad Campbell. You like the linebacker from Alabama. That's who Kyle's talking about. He misses that stud middle linebacker in the middle of a Chicago Bears defense. Jahad Campbell is that. He 100% is that. And if the Bears took him, nobody should be disappointed. Nobody. I don't think so.
Yeah, and Tremaine Edmonds can get the fuck out of Dodge.
Well, that would be the writing on the wall for that 100%. Jahad Campbell would be his Huckleberry for sure. Jahad Campbell would be his Huckleberry.
I personally, I don't hate Tremaine Edmonds.
I don't hate him either.
Nobody said. Yeah, I don't know if anybody said they hate him, but like he did. Sean,
Dodge pretty much says you don't fucking like the guy.
I don't like Tremaine Edmonds. I think Tremaine Edmonds is probably the most overpaid player in the NFL. He's the.
I don't hate him. I don't hate him at all. I just don't think he's a dominant playmaker.
$500,000 less than Roquan Smith. He is not.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Can I say this, Brandon? I don't think he was utilized like he was in Buffalo when he was an All-Pro.
I don't think he can get off a block.
Chicago, I think he's going to be a lot better.
The problem
with a block in Buffalo,
blocks.
What I'm saying is this team gave up last year. And if you're looking at last year through a lens and saying, oh, this guy sucked last year, this guy sucked last year, you should clean off that glass because I'm telling you, you cannot judge anything off of a team that gave up.
Did you guys know he says Huckleberry? Did you know that?
Who says that?
Val Kilmer in Tombstone says, "I'm your huckle." A huckle is a handle on a casket. So when people carry the casket, the huckle is the handle on it. So and a bearer is somebody who carries a casket. It says, "I'm your huckle bearer."
Well, that ruins.
But people always think it's Huckleberry. Huckleberry doesn't exist. That's nothing. There's nothing.
Sean, we broke this down on the bare minimum. I'm going to say this, and I believe this to be true. I think Tremaine Edmonds is a solid player if the guys up
I'm looking
front,
up the script at Tombstone right now.
If the guys up front are doing their job efficiently, if these swing guards get beyond the defensive line and get a hold of Tremaine Edmonds, they throw him around like a rag doll. And I want a middle linebacker that can push those guys aside. And there are players.
You're right. He says Huckleberry. You're supposed to say Huckleberry.
There are guys in this league.
Okay.
Here, I just got to say this. I don't know about how many people are throwing around a 6'5", 255-pound linebacker.
Oh, I'll find some tape. He
had a hard time getting off blocks. I'll say this, man. I think Brandon's animosity more so towards Tremaine Edmonds is tied to the fact that
it's Brian Urlacher.
No. Well,
it's Brian
Roquan Smith got traded away because they didn't want to pay him, and then the next offseason they overpay for Tremaine Edmonds, who's underperformed since he's been with the Chicago Bears.
$500,000 less.
Well,
I would have much rather kept Roquan Smith. That's what I would have much rather.
And the difference is $500,000 annually.
Roquan had bad games with the Bears, man. That Dallas Cowboys game was absolutely unwatchable.
He's a better linebacker than Tremaine Edmonds, guys.
He's had bad games with Baltimore as well. He's not like Brian Urlacher, if that's what you're thinking. He's not Lance Briggs.
did not have a
I'm,
good
Guys,
I'm not saying I
Roquan
want
Smith
Roquan
is
Smith. I'm saying I want Brian
tenfold what
Urlacher.
Tremaine Edmonds will
I want
ever
Patrick
be.
Willis, not Roquan Smith.
I think Jihad Campbell is, as I
Roquan
said
Smith.
when we previewed Jihad Campbell on his scouting report, he is most comparable to Patrick Willis when I watch him play. I haven't heard anybody say that, so maybe I'm just insane. But I watched Patrick Willis every game, and that guy
Ray Lewis.
is very similar.
I want one of those. That's what I want. I'm not
Yeah, we
sure.
all want Ray Lewis.
My sights aren't set on
I'll
Roquan
take
Smith.
Ray Lewis.
They're set on Patrick
And
Willis.
the reality is if we're all saying we're proponents of drafting Jihad Campbell, it's because we want to replace Tremaine Edmonds. Period. End of story. We can't
Brian
argue
Urlacher.
that.
And we want a new Brian.
I'm gonna
Urlacher,
say
right? we watch all those. We watch those highlights, and we think about all the memories. People watch the Dick Butkus highlights, the Mike Singletary highlights. The Bears fans have always had that guy.
I think the linebackers are the
almost
weakest unit on
always
this
had
team.
him.
What's the weakest unit on this football team?
You guys,
besides the running back?
Tremaine or TJ Edwards had back-to-back 150 tackle seasons before last year, guys. He's not a weak player in the NFL.
Last year was a down
really
year
good
for the
linebacker.
I think the fact that they lost Billings hurt those linebackers an awful lot because
It did.
offensive
Absolutely.
linemen were at the second level way too often, and it's hard to disengage from those blocks if the offensive lineman has a running start at your linebackers. That's a hard thing to do, Brandon. It is.
Yeah.
So if the Bears fix that this year, you could see improved linebacker play just from the two guys we currently have.
I think you will. I think that you will, but I think you also have a replacement level player playing one of the most important positions on your football team, especially in the scheme that you run.
Well, here
Vernon wants a team where every player on the field is the best at their position in the NFL.
And Kyle wants their backups to be just as good. Kyle wants their backups to be just as good.
I want a deep team. Yes, I want every Super Bowl team for the last 20 years has been a very deep.
Watch TJ Edwards return to form. Go look at his career. Last year was his worst year in his career.
I don't put
right now.
I don't put replacing TJ Edwards very high on my list right now of needs, but I think Tremaine Edmonds is a replacement level player. I do. If you guys don't,
Phil was the
you
shit.
don't. I think that he is, and I think he's the anchor of a defense, a 4-3 defense.
And Fioris, did you watch me and Brandon's Bare Minimum where we went through our top 5 Val Kilmer movies? You better have been there. I don't remember Fioris being there for that. He's really into this Val Kilmer conversation.
Go back and watch.
Go back and watch.
Anybody, if they watch WrestleMania this weekend?
Where'd you guys put that
this weekend? It was fucking awesome.
I didn't.
I did not watch WrestleMania.
Where'd you guys rank Batman?
It was an honorable mention. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang was on both of our lists. Kiss Bang Bang. Heat, of course, is on both lists. Tombstone,
Heat's my favorite.
Yeah,
Ghost in the Darkness was on my list.
I did not have Ghost in the Darkness. Yeah, Amphiorus, go back and check it out. We can't give it all away now, or Amphiorus is going to go back.
I had Tombstone.
Hey, don't give it away. Amphiorus is going to go back.
He's going to watch it.
Oh, okay. The Doors.
The Saint was also an awesome movie.
The Saint is a great movie.
The Doors is a top 3 Val Kilmer.
Batman, it was phenomenal.
What's funny about the Saint,
Tommy Lee Jones and Jim Carrey.
Well, yeah, that's a Batman Forever. Fucking love it, but it doesn't hold up. If you watch it now, it's tough. It's a little tough, but the Saint.
All the Marvel movies.
What's funny about that's a DC? Yeah. What's funny about the Saint is that it's clearly Val Kilmer in every disguise that he's in. You can clearly tell that it's still Val Kilmer.
He has like a longer hair.
The Doors.
Just has a Val Kilmer with a ponytail.
Like a wig.
His portrayal of Jim Morrison is one of the most iconic roles ever played. And then we said it on the show. His cameo as Elvis Presley in the movie True Romance.
Yeah.
I don't care how many seconds the guy's on screen, he's still Elvis Presley.
Val Kilmer is Elvis.
Yeah,
amazing movie.
Best movie of all time. True Romance.
True Romance. It's up there.
Yeah, it's my number one. It's my number one.
I have to say mine is Saving Private Ryan, but that movie's awesome.
Guys, we've been going for 2 hours 20 minutes. Anything else you want to get into? Sean, what's up? Your mic's a little low, bro.
You can't hear me?
Okay, what's up?
It's
cutting out a little bit.
Is it? Well, everything's breaking over here. So
Sean's mind is broken. Sean, what's wrong? But let's talk about this. What's going on with you? How you feeling today? What's going on?
It's a long day. Dante, I love Heat. It's one of my favorite movies ever.
That's amazing.
The action is the juice, Sean. The action is the juice.
He's got a great ass.
Yeah, Al Pacino's
Dude,
great.
When Al Pacino is having that back and forth with Harry, what's his name? The guy from The guy from
Look at
Brockmire.
Illinois. You guys look at Illinois joints right here.
Best
Podcast
podcast
all time. Thanks,
But
man.
Hank Azaria.
Track
When
this
Al
promise.
Pacino is screaming in Hank Azaria's face, Hank Azaria looks genuinely like bewildered and
Thanks,
afraid
Trax.
of what Al Pacino was doing. Like, I don't think he was acting. I think Al Pacino was scaring the shit out of Hank Azaria in that.
Dude,
If you
the
rewatch that movie, looking at him,
The conversation between Christopher Walken and what's the actor's name who plays his dad?
Dennis
Hopper.
Dennis Hopper.
Yeah, that in that trailer is one of the best scenes.
And you're a cantaloupe.
You're a cantaloupe. Did you just do that in the walk-in voice?
I did. And you're a cantaloupe. Jay, you dog.
Love you too, Illinois Jones. Appreciate you, man. Trax, thanks for the support, brother. Double duty, man. Multitasking.
We could do a Christopher Walken list on the next bare minimum.
Best true romance line. Best true romance line. Don't fucking condescend me, man.
He says condescend.
I'll
Don't
fucking
condescend me,
Fucking
man.
kill you.
I'll fucking kill you, man.
Brad Pitt was awesome in that too. Here's the
It's one of the
question:
greatest
does Brad
casts
Pitt
ever.
die?
James Gandolfini's in that movie.
Does
Brad Pitt does not die. No,
No, he does.
there's no
You don't
way.
know. They never tell you.
I
They don't
know
show
in
it.
my soul that he does not die.
Justin, you
He
don't
does
want
not
him to
die. What was his name in that? Was it Frank? What was his name when he's calling him Floyd? When he's
Floyd,
calling
yeah.
for the toilet paper, he's calling for the Floyd does not die, bro. He does not die. Dante Purify says Illinois Jones. These guys are entertaining as fuck, and they know they're shites. Thank you, Dante. We appreciate you.
Thanks, Dante.
Breaking news: Bruce
Thank
is
you,
trying to get us
Dante.
to
Thank
end
you,
the
Trax.
show.
Thank you,
Great
Illinois
show
Jones.
And Illinois Jones says Sean looks like he's seen a ghost. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, it's getting to that bewitching
It's
hour.
just a
Some of
quote.
us
Just a quote.
have been up since 5 a.m. I'm a little.
Me too.
Yeah, I woke up at like 10. So you got
Nice,
I
nice.
got
Kyle.
5 hours more.
You know,
Hey,
I get home. I get home from work at
long
like
hours.
3.
It was my long hours of watching WrestleMania and the post show afterwards.
So Sean, how do you feel about Dom the what's his name winning?
Dom Mysterio. I thought it was
I don't know
awesome.
what's his name.
Isn't that the most hated guy in all of wrestling?
Not
Mysterio?
anymore, dude. He got mad props.
Yeah, that's how
yesterday. By the
wrestling
way,
works. You can
So
be
he
the
took
most
a-
hated.
Mark
He took
Gibbs
a
was
face
sitting
turn?
front row yesterday.
Is
Guys.
Sean about to light up? Sean's about to light up a blunt. It
No,
looks
no.
like.
Look at this guy sitting at WrestleMania yesterday. Yeah.
Jameer Gibbs. Jameer Gibbs.
Oh, dude, there was so many stars there last night.
Tony Hinchcliffe was there. Tony Hinchcliffe was there.
By the way,
He
did you guys
he did a
see-
ro-
did you
he did a
guys-
roast to WrestleMania?
Did you see
dude,
Caleb
last night.
Williams
Yeah, fuck yeah.
celebrating his bobblehead? His
Did you guys
Pete
see
Crow
Ben
Armstrong?
Johnson's?
Hey, by the way, you guys saw
was
that
amazing.
bullshit that they lost.
I love this. This is great, guys. We should keep going with this for another
The
hour.
Yeah,
MVP.
Caleb Williams chucked
Caleb
that ball.
Williams.
Did you
He
see Caleb
smoked
Williams
something.
celebrating as he walked out of Wrigley because he got the Pete Crow
PCA
bobblehead?
PCA bobblehead,
he
yeah.
got the bobblehead.
Did you see Ben
He's, like,
Johnson's
holding
first
it up
pitch,
and-
dude? That thing was legit. That was a strikeout pitch, dude.
No,
Did you
Ben
see
Johnson-
that?
No, yeah, it was.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Great
so much
movie.
movement.
That was the slider. That was a
Yeah,
slider.
it was like the
Yep.
best first opening or throw.
Hey, by the
pitch
way,
I've ever
Joe
seen.
It's a sign of things to come. Ben Johnson's gonna
Ben
fucking kill
Johnson's
it in
the man.
Chicago. He's
Ben
already
Johnson's
just
at the
killing it.
Cubs game with Joe Tooney and Austin Reed the other day. So
Yeah, that's what we were,
That's
isn't that
badass.
what we were just talking about?
Those are
Ben
the only
Johnson?
players that are. Those are the
Was
only players
Austin
that are.
Reed the quarterback?
what's that?
Austin Reed's the third quarterback. Yes.
Yeah, I didn't see Caleb Williams. There.
Fourth
I don't know
quarterback.
how I missed that.
Caleb Williams was there. Yeah.
He's
yeah.
the
I don't
fourth
know how I
quarterback
missed
now.
that.
He's not going to make this team. He's a practice squad.
I only saw.
Oh yeah,
saw
he's the
Tooney-
fourth now. Yeah.
Case
I only
Keenum.
saw Tooney, Reed, and
Well, he's a practice
Ben
squad.
Johnson. So that
Joe
was a little
Tooney is
weird.
the only guy old enough to hang out with the coach and not create problems.
He's older than
You
the
can't
coach.
get drunk with Tyreek Stevenson, right? You can only get drunk with Joe Tooney.
And Fiorce is throwing out more true romance lines. But what about Drexel? Drexel is the Gary Oldman's character in True Romance.
That is the best character.
best
in that
character
movie.
in that movie. One of the
Yeah.
best characters of all time. He thought it was White Boy Day. Is it White Boy Day?
So let me ask you this: am I prettier than a pair of titties?
I know I'm pretty, but I ain't as pretty as a pair of titties.
Puts the light on his fucked up face. Gary
All right.
Oldman is
You
phenomenal.
guys want to?
Go watch True Romance, everyone. Seriously,
Lock
I'm
this
gonna
up.
do it.
I want to say goodnight to
Yeah,
my daughter.
everyone. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Don't forget this Thursday, River Street Tavern, 102 North River Street. We're going to be out there live. with y'all. I hope.
So is there anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
No, I don't have much to say
You didn't
besides.
get it. You
No,
didn't
he's
get me,
way
Reggie.
off.
The Austin
he's
Booker, the Austin Booker outro.
I was going for it.
Anything you want to get out there before we wrap up?
Shit, fuck Green Bay.
All right. Yeah. Let's go.
We got to get a dunce cap for this show.
We can just keep it. We just keep it at
Big
your house.
Lebowski. Somebody just threw out the Big Lebowski. That's awesome.
Big Lebowski, damn.
The
good movie.
dude abides for that chat right there.
Mind the
Sometimes-
beverage, dude.
Sometimes you eat the bar. Sometimes the bar eats you.
Was that some kind of Easter?
Far from it, dude.
All right, guys, this has been a fucking blast. Thanks to everybody for being here. Make sure you hit that like button on your way out if you didn't hit it already. We got the Bears draft party on Thursday. Y'all better fucking be there. It's gonna be fun, and we can't wait to meet all of you.
Yeah, it's all for charity, guys. It's all for charity.
All for charity, all for a good cause, and we're gonna have a lot of fun breaking down the Bears pick and all the picks leading up to it. You can catch us on YouTube. We're gonna be doing a live show from there. We love you all for being here.
You guys can meet Bruce,
J2K,
man behind the scenes.
Appreciate you joining us.
Yep,
Breaking
everybody
news.
in here. Amphiorus, Illinois Jones, Crooked Commish was in here. Dante Purify. Dante wants me to do a mock draft like I did on the bare minimum when Brandon left, and I was on for like another hour. But no, we're not gonna do that tonight, Dante. Maybe next. Well, I guess shit. The draft's on Thursday. There's no more mock drafts.
Yeah,
There's no more mock drafts.
Dante, if you want,
Thursday.
yeah, if you Dante, if you want one more draft show, join Sean and I on Wednesday night, the Barely There podcast. It's going to be our last.
Maybe I'll
draft.
make an appearance on that show.
Are we doing a mock draft?
Did they invite you?
Sure, why not?
No,
Yeah, Brennan, come on.
Whatever we do, it's got to be
Come on.
short.
they need a secretary.
You
Join
guys
the
are
show,
always
Brandon.
welcome on the Barely There podcast.
Yeah, of course, man.
Do you
Barely
work?
There podcast on Wednesday, guys. 6
If I
o'clock.
do,
Check it out.
I'll be high as a kite. I'm getting a root canal on Wednesday.
Are you working? You work on Wednesday night, Dustin?
Shit. Yeah, I work Wednesday.
Yeah, and if you guys are Cubs fans, don't forget about the Northside 9 podcast Saturdays at noon. Sean and I break down the
It's
Cubs.
a pretty awesome show. Come check
And
it out.
the bare minimum is going to take a break this Thursday because we're doing a live draft show. So
It's
Yeah,
going to
that
be
will
the
be the
bare
bare
minimum
minimum.
slash.
We're going to call it the bare minimum.
The bare
Okay.
minimum live draft show.
bare.
Dante says it'll be there.
Here's
All
Miles.
right.
El
Hey,
Nino
you're gonna
is
come to
Spanish
Primos
for
River Street on Thursday,
El
Dante?
Nino.
You don't need a
Can't
root
wait.
canal to get high.
I think Dante's talking about Wednesday for the Barely There podcast.
Oh, damn. I was going to say, we can sit down in a beer and discuss Shador Sanders a little more.
Oh boy.
That'll be a lot of fun. I'll get in on that conversation. All right,
It's going to
guys.
be a blast.
This has been a blast. Let's get on out of here, guys. Bear down. Have a great night. Thanks, everybody, for being here.
Bear down, everybody.